Beyond!
Beyond!
Beyond.
Beyond!
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 What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Beyond, episode 450. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the best beard in the business, Marty
No
Sleva.
one's called me that in a while.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You let all the traditions die.
Things have gotten low. Yeah. Yep. Getting off
Over
that
here,
one.
the Dark Knight of News, Andrew Goldfarb.
Hi.
Sorry.
Sorry, Zach.
Oh, good. I was just going to say hi.
He only does everything. Colin Moriarty.
Nothing says welcome back to your old podcast like not even having your own microphone.
The tallest man at IGN, Max Scoville.
Hey, what's up? No,
How
that's
you
not true.
I don't know. I don't work there. And then, my Italian meatball, Brian Altano. Marty.
Yeah, we did good. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, this is Podcast Beyond, episode 450. I'm very excited for the fact that we got both of you. We wrangled both of you to come back.
It's exciting.
You're too, I don't like
Sharing.
that.
We
can
gotta
have
do it. It's on the microphone.
Oh, thank you, Max.
This is already a disaster.
Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, this is
thanks for
incredible.
having us.
I left my
it's
house today.
Our absolute pleasure. We got you out of your house. That's an important thing.
Yes.
We are at Jackalope, which is a bar in San Francisco that I think all of us have tweeted about and blacked out at numerous
for
times.
sure.
Yeah. It's incredible. But yeah, in the tradition of the 50 episodes, obviously for the hundreds, we do big things. You're doing weird things in Andrew's ear, but it's fine. In the traditions of a 50s episode, it's not really about news or anything. And there's also not a shit ton to talk about because it's post E3.
Sure.
Like nothing's really happened. Yeah, and so we sort of want to just have this be a, I don't know, reflection back on what the show has meant to all of us, sort of what PlayStation has meant to us, looking forward into the future. What will happen 10 years from now?
Oh my gosh.
A man will die.
What? Anyone? Just any random man?
I'm sure, yeah, some
He's
man
playing
will.
the prediction game safe. He
Some-
wants the
yeah.
points like Colin always does.
Yeah, some man will die. But yeah, I just sort of want to just do it like a quick little, I don't know, retrospective on what the show has been. And it's this thing that you two so graciously handed off to us, you know, after you left and went to Found Kind of Funny. And I don't know, it's been a weird ride taking it over and having it transform. But yeah, just really quick, what was it like in the early days?
Oh, man. Nobody wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And we all thought it was really dumb. And we got mad at Dunham for making us do it. Because we had Game Scoop, and that was always my argument. Like, we already have a podcast that covers everything. Why do we need all these channel podcasts?
Yeah.
And then it was also the thing, I always talk about it for me in particular. Like, I always feel like Damon and I took the same opportunity where we got to IGN. He was there before me, obviously, but only for about like 6 months or so. We got there, and we got there right as the old guard was burning out. And so when Pear was demanding put editors on camera and make them personalities, have podcasts, like Craig Harris was like, no, I'm here to write reviews. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I don't want to do any of that stuff. Where Damon and I were like, yeah, put us in everything. We'll do everything.
Yeah.
And so then it was this thing of like, now we were doing a podcast where I knew Roper didn't really want to do that many podcasts and stuff, but as we started doing it, when you find that rhythm and you realize how much fun you can have just being a bunch of morons in a room, that's where it took
You were
off.
on, was one your first one?
Yeah, I was a founder.
So you were on 3.
I'm the first person to say Beyond, and it gets a good laugh.
Did you ever miss an episode?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. I missed plenty of episodes, because I'd be traveling or you go to an event or
Were
whatever.
you the man who died in my prediction?
In 10 years from now?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I eat a lot of chicken wings.
Yeah,
It's going to catch up eventually to me, but yeah.
Sure.
No, yeah, I was there from episode 1. It was a great ride, but yeah, I missed plenty of stuff. Because you figure I got to start as just one of the idiots on the show.
Yeah.
You know, it was Dunham hosting the original thing, and that was actually, he already left the PlayStation team. It was really confusing. And then Roper moves into
Remember when we had teams?
I was going to say, it's very weird because when I first started around, 7 years ago now, IGN was very segmented like that.
Yeah.
And there was very specifically, so I did features, and I remember one time you're like, Brian, what's this feature you're working on? I'm like, oh, it's this thing. And you're like, that's going to do really well. Can you start that on the PlayStation channel? And I was like, yeah, why? And he's like, well, because then I get all the views and my channel looks great. And I'm like, yeah, but like Christine's running the Xbox channel and somebody else is running the Nintendo channel. I could start there. And you said,
Yikes!
You said, I'll give you $10 if you started on the PlayStation channel, which I don't know if that's collusion within your own room.
Totally it is.
But I bought lunch, which is, that's half a lunch in San Francisco.
But in like you bring up such a great point of like the IGN of old versus the IGN of new, and Colin knows this. Of like when we were in those camps, that was the thing, and we were all motivated to beat each other. We all loved each other. We were always happy. But I remember when I started on the PlayStation team, and Dunham was my boss, and then Hillary was running Xbox, right? Like and actually Doug Perry was running Xbox at the time, but he left, and then Hillary eventually came on. And that was the thing where it was like an arms race of you wanted to beat each other, and podcast became that as well.
And it actually went hand in hand with what the NPD was reporting every single month, where there was this camaraderie around how well systems were selling, and then the Vita came out, and the PS3 was an underdog for a while there, which is like I think you guys guys were champions of a console that was having kind of a couple of dark days for a
Oh
little
my!
while there.
Dark years.
Eventually, there is. I think it's like 6 months into Beyond. Dunham had to pull me aside and be like, "All right, you got to stop saying that you're not going to buy a PS3. Like you can't keep saying that."
It wasn't dark days with Nuclear Winter.
Yeah.
On PlayStation 3. But I think that was fun. What was fun about Podcast Beyond? Because I didn't join the podcast till episode 98.
Okay.
And actually, some old people like that watched IGN for a long time know I was actually on TRL forever, which was the which was the Xbox podcast. But we didn't talk about Xbox. I didn't play Xbox. And we never talked about Xbox. Yeah, we would call like Xbox support as Cobra Commander and talk about Lost, and it was not about Xbox.
God, I wish we just had a podcast where we just talked about Lost.
The Cobra Commander one, by the way, is like one of the funniest things I ever did at IGN.
Wait, what is that? Was that just
Hillary had an Xbox problem, so he did a perfect Cobra Commander voice, like an amazing Cobra Commander impression. So we called Xbox support as Cobra Commander, and it's on YouTube. Like there's a video someone clipped out a long time ago of it, and it was just a very funny moment or whatever because like the guy just kept going, like as if like what was the problem and all these kinds of things, and he was like, "What's your first name?" He's like, "Cobra," and he's like, "Last name Commander."
on air?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, PlayStation 3 was, a great console, but no one really knew. But that was kind of where the pride of Podcast Beyond came from, and IGN PlayStation. The fact that IGN PlayStation was by far the biggest part of the site at the time that Greg and I ran the channels,
that's
was
all
awesome
the
for us.
legacy of it, right? That Dunham and Roper had set up like when I got there was such a structure to what we were doing and how it was that when we begrudgingly had to do Beyond and everybody else was starting podcasts, I remember Dunham being like, "All right, we're doing it on this day. We do not miss an episode. That put it on your calendars and don't miss it." And meanwhile, NVCE, and I think it's what it's called back then. Jeez, I don't even remember. TRL, like everything was we got to episode like 112, and TRL finally got to 50, and then the 50th episode pretended like it was episode 100 to try to catch up, to like cheat the code or whatever. But that was the thing is like we were all like our jobs were to care and cover about PlayStation, and so all that stripped away all like the hey I love my PS2. It stripped away all the people who are only there on the winning system, and you were left with this core of PlayStation fans, and that was the thing where that's how we grew the channel. It's how we grew the podcast. That we were just there in like the darkest of dark times. They're just like, I don't know, man.
Well, it gave you guys
cool.
It gave you guys an opportunity. I get that's a generous word for this sentiment here, but it gave you guys the chance to basically say, no matter what's happening on these platforms, we have to talk about it. And some weeks, there ain't shit. Like some weeks 100%. It's just like, well, there's like 3 indie games, and there's a PlayStation Mini game that we should talk about, and like. There's new PSP skins, and you're like, well, we're gonna make this work, or like firmware updates. And it was strange because when we inherited the show, the PlayStation 4 is the best-selling system, and it's on a winning streak. It's easy streak for all of us. We come in, we're like, let's talk about all the big games. Uncharted's coming out, blah blah blah. There was a lot of times there where it was just like you guys had to spin a show out of nothing, and you did a phenomenal job at that. And I think that's what really connected with the audience, because there are weeks where they're sitting there being like, well, what am I supposed to play right now?
Yeah.
Do you remember what you in your first episode? Like, when was that? Like, what were you guys talking about in that episode?
It was 2009.
Yeah.
2008. I don't know. No, 2009.
Yeah,
2009. I think early 2009. I don't know. I guess it was around the time Infamous came out.
But you remember your first thing.
Well, my first appearance was actually like we recorded these interstitials for the.
We opened the show and it was me doing the History Channel voice. They're just like, "Hello, everyone. This is Greg Miller from Podcast Beyond." And like usually, we scream when we open. Greg Miller from Podcast Beyond, and today we're gonna have a dramatic reading of the Fracture Review Guide from American history expert Colin Moriarty.
Okay, don't say American History X, and you can't like say that without a connotation before it. I know you said expert.
American history expert. So it was Jet Brody was the main character in Fracture, and we thought this review guide.
It was Jet Brody.
Yeah.
They gave you
the review guide was the fucking fun. So for people that don't know, the games don't usually come with them anymore. But back in the day, games came with like these very finely printed, like ridiculous PR bullshit review guides, where it's like, here's what you should know, and here's what's important, and we were like, this is probably the stupidest fucking.
Using the missile launcher? It's a real good one.
Yeah, it's like
there's 4 paragraphs on backstory on this character that the game doesn't explain, so we'll give it to you.
So it was like a glorified NES manual basically, and we thought this one was really funny. So I read interstitials or whatever, but I was still doing TRL at the time, and we actually did a music podcast for a while and stuff. So it was when Spence still worked there, and it was called.
Music podcast?
It was called, what the fuck was it called? I don't even remember anymore. Oh, Inner Ear Damage, I think it was called. We did like 5 or 6 episodes of that. I don't know. So we were experimenting with all these things, but then I was a PlayStation-centric guy. And a Nintendo-centric guy, as we always talk about. Like, I actually was holding on for dear life with the Wii in like
God, you
2007.
love that Wii, Marty. Colin, when you gonna play
someone had
tonight?
to.
Oh man, I'm gonna play Call of Duty on the Wii tonight. What the hell's wrong with
you
you?
didn't do that.
No, the last one I played, like the last weird one I played on Wii was Bloodstone, the 007 game. I was like, I'm gonna play this on Wii. Everyone's like, you fucking serious? I'm like, no, I'm as serious as it gets.
Sounds like something you would like pass in the middle of the night.
It was sometime in like
Woke up with a
it was sometime in
Bloodstone
2008 where I was like, I just can't. I
Yeah.
can't with the Wii. I literally haven't had my Wii plugged in like 6 years. I was
You're
like, I
fine.
can't anymore. So yeah, I think it was early 2009. People out there might know, but so it was around Infamous came out that spring, and that was actually when and it was right before Slim came out. So it was that was when PS3 started to pick up a lot of steam or whatever.
Yeah, it was when they finally like were able to recover from that disastrous E3 and from the price point and everything. Like,
Yeah.
it felt like by that time, by the time, Uncharted was rolling out, Infamous, like that kind of stuff, that it was like, oh wait, this is
You
gonna
finally
be
have a
fine.
reason.
Like
You
we
have a
understand
reason
these
to
are the
buy
people
this,
that made
yeah.
the PS1 and PS2. They actually know what they're doing.
Not dissimilar to the Xbox One Slim. That
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, I
kind
mean,
of
honestly, like
playing
that's-
catch up.
I mean, that's one of the weirdest things is like looking at how this generation has mirrored the last one, just complete reverse.
Just a flip of the sides.
And also, the Wii U sales are missing a 0 at the end from where the Wii was. Yeah, not great. Yeah, so do you remember your first episode, Andrew?
Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome to the
was-
podcast, Andrew.
Thanks. Hello. It was 220 something. It was because it was a few weeks after 200, so it was like 220-ish.
Because you were at 200 as a little babby fan.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I flew out for that, and then we went to Eddie Rickenbacker's, like the old version of Eddie Rickenbacker's after, and then
Was there that wine drinking cat still there?
Yeah, that was
love
when the
that
cat and
cat.
old man were still there. Yep, and the motorcycles were still in the
Was the
ceiling.
cat Mr. Higgins or was the man Mr. Higgins?
The cat?
What was the man's name? Doesn't matter.
Eddie Rickenbacker.
I was brought to that bar the first time because I was told it was like a World War II era motorcycle Jabba's palace, and that there's a large man in the corner hooked up to like an oxygen tank, and there's like
Which
a
is
cat
sad
that sits on him and drinks wine.
I'm gonna text Chris Ostertag. He will remember the man's name. Because the whole thing was like they burn out waitresses in 6 months because they had to give him shots because he lived in the bar and he was on
Wait,
oxygen
he
watching.
literally.
He watched.
Wait, they had to give him shots as in.
like they
like
gave
needles?
him like yes, like
I heard
to
they
keep
had
him
to.
alive.
That's
I heard,
fucking terrible.
I heard that they had to take him to the bathroom and stuff.
No.
And he lived in the
100%
back. And then apparently when he was when he wanted to keep them around, he'd be like, "Hey, if you stick around, I'll put you in my will." And I got hella Tiffany lamps.
Also true. There was one. That was like the news story when they finally closed down Eddie Rickenbacker's. Is that there was a Tiffany's chandelier in there that was worth like $250,000 or something.
Did you know that every now and then his chair would move and this ground would open up and a bunch of waitresses would fall in? And a giant monster that lived under the bar would eat them? It's horrible.
This is probably the
The
best
cat
Eddie
would laugh
Rickenbacker's
hysterically.
podcast ever.
Yeah. Shout out to Eddie Rickenbacker. I don't like that bar anymore.
Well,
Like, I don't want
yeah.
to badmouth other bars, but
Well, now it's just like a gentrified, really expensive burger place, basically.
San Francisco.
Anyway, I went there after 200, and then the morning after, either hungover or still drunk, is when I interviewed with Colin Campbell for what would eventually become this job. But then
To interrupt your story, what I love about your story is the fact that like you were like a legit Beyond fan. Like you were the one who gave me that Walking Dead plushie that was on my desk forever. You'd sent it in.
Yep.
You were the first fan I ever saw in a Beyond shirt that was a different color because you took a photo with Craig Harris
The
at
green
Nintendo
one, yeah.
World.
Yep.
And I was like, where did you get the green one? And you're like, off the Cafe Press site you sent out. I'm like, they don't have to be black. I want them to be black. You know what I mean? And
I'm building a brand.
and Jesus, the first podcast room we had at New IGN, we had your photo on the wall because we had all the fans who sent in the Beyond.
Oh, on the second
images.
floor one.
Yeah.
Wait, his photo of like.
He sent in the photo of him with Craig. Because the old Beyond thing was like, we had like we had fans who sent in fan art, but it all started on Gen 1 Beyond, I think even before Colin got there, of like, one kid wrote in, he's like, hey, can I be the official fencer of Podcast Beyond? And Jeff Haynes was like, sure. And so then we had this like reoccurring thing of like, then there was the official runner of Podcast Beyond. And these people would write Beyond in their shoes. The fencer had a giant flag that might still be in your office.
Yeah.
That like
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
spray
yeah,
painted
yeah.
one.
Yep.
He used to have it on his fencer. And then finally we got to, can I be a woman wrote in named Julia, who still comes to all the kind of funny events. I'm sure she
Can I
comes
be
to
the
your
official
events.
girl of Beyond?
Can I be the official magic booty of Podcast Beyond?
Was she?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What does that mean?
We said she sent photos of her butt, like her bent over things.
Yeah.
And we put those up at the office, and they were up for and like don't get me wrong, it wasn't like a naked butt, but it was like a butt in various outfits, and she said her booty was magical, and we were like, sure. This is again, mind you, just No one was listening. No one knew what was happening. Like, we could do whatever the hell we wanted on the podcast back then. And we're like, sure, we put it up, and it stayed up until Chris Roper's wife came by one day and was like, take this down. This isn't a locker room. We're like, no, but it's the magical booty. She's like, I don't care what the reasoning is.
What a weird thing to have to explain to your wife. You'd be like, no, it's a magic ass.
That was a really weird room to do a show, by the way, because we used to do the GameSpy debriefings back then, and somebody sent us this Yogi Bear the movie poster that had Yogi standing up a boo-boo, and it said, good things come in bears. And he was just like, hey, boo-boo. So we had that, we had the magical booty, we had Goldfar's picture. Like, what a fucking weird room to record it.
No, remember, I did a podcast Beyond Competition of, if you wanted to win a Killzone Collector's Edition, send in a photo of a Hellgas killing Clements. And so we had all this fan art of Clements getting like, punched through the chest, his neck getting snapped, his head ripped off.
Jesus.
We hung them all up. We're like, great.
Now we just have people randomly tweet a lot of pictures of dogs and men with capes and corn.
Well, it felt like little kids decorating a treehouse where a parent never comes up there and goes like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
We're just like, we're going to put Yogi on the wall, and then the Brian Clements getting murdered.
That was always like the test for me. Is we would say horrible things or do horrible things, and then I would wait to see if like Pear or Tal said anything. Like, yeah, we're the official hypothetical abortion podcast. They're not listening. Keep saying it. It's fine. By the time they pay attention, it'll be a month.
So that's the thing is, I still go under the basis that no one who can fire me listens to the show, except Pear totally listens to the show.
Yep.
And every once in a while, because there's also like. You guys have
Well,
this
he
all the
listens
time.
now that they're gone, they stop talking about abortions every week.
But no, it's the same thing where it's like every once in a while they'd be like,
Hey, woman's right to choose is sacred.
It'll just be like, oh, Shu listens to this, and Scott Rhodey listens to this, and Cisco listens to this, and Genuine listens to it. And I'm like, what's happening? Like, I'm sorry. I want to apologize to everyone.
Everyone from Now That's What I Call Music Volume 4 love this podcast beyond.
Shout out to Shuhei Yoshida.
It's a silly thing, and it's a silly thing too with the like some of the things I'm loath to even bring it up because I don't want people to start it again. But like things we said years ago, like people still bring up, like when like with Ryan, we're just gonna not even.
Yeah.
But like, I'm like, we made that up 6 years ago. Like, how do you even remember this shit? And it's actually like a real thing now. I'm like, yeah, you got to stop.
I mean, that is the insane thing is we take it for granted. I mean, we've all done hundreds, if not thousands, of podcasts, and the fact is, you forget that you say a thing that is just completely in passing and you never think of it again, but it totally clicks with someone, or it totally clicks with 100 people.
You forget before you're out of the room. But like someone came up to us at PAX Prime. It was like, an apple a day keeps, like some completely weird thing that apparently one of us said in a podcast like 5 years ago and kept walking, and we were like, what?
Is that man? Did he put a curse on me?
I know, like with Comedy Button, we'll get people who just started listening to the show, and they're like, I'm on episode 13, and I'm like, oh fuck.
I apologize.
I was 24. Like, no, it doesn't count. That's bad.
Yeah.
It's weird though. Like, I love that. Obviously, we do our weird kind of bastard spin-off of the GameSpy debriefings, the Comedy Button. What's up? But the whole thing that we do there is the Alcoholocaust, the Boozocalypse, Pearl Harbor, Nightmare Fuel, drinking the worst of liquors, which was kind of inspired.
Wine 11?
Wine 11. I forgot Wine 11. Yeah. But that was all inspired because you guys would get sent like nice stuff. Like people would send you guys like nice whiskeys, and then this fucking asshole's like, hey, what if you sent us the worst things you could? Send us paint thinner. What could go wrong? So like, in a weird way, like Beyond's original habits led to special types of liver damage.
Yeah. Sure.
The most roundabout way.
It's a special kind of show. I mean, to Goldfarb's point too, like people come up to me still and like, oh, remember when you? I don't go to shows very often, so I just see people every once in a while. But they're like, you remember when you said? And I'm like, yeah, I guess. Like, I
believe you.
I get now with Colin and Greg live every day. That's like 7.5 hours a week. Game Over Greggy's show, Gamescast, and PS I Love You.
Yeah, dude.
It's like 13
hours a week. Yeah.
It's like.
A baker's dozen?
I literally don't know what the fuck I said 10 minutes ago.
I don't say it 4:13.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
Well, it's all recorded there for you in case you forget or if you ever run for political office of any kind, you're fucked.
That's when people were like, oh yeah, Colin, you should run for Congress one day. And I'm like, yeah, all those pictures from college. I mean, not even knowing what the fuck was going on, and 700 episods of podcasts are going to be really easy for me to be vetted.
Yeah, that's going to go so well. Do you remember your first episode?
So it's actually, I love hearing stories about how Beyond was so weird and ragtag when it first started out, because I always I started out at GameSpy, and I started looking up to shows like Beyond, being like, oh, that's the big leagues. They got their shit together. They're doing big things over there. And like, no, they had nobody really knew what they were doing. Podcasting was so young for everybody at the time. I don't remember specifically my first episode with these guys, but I know that I
I think yours might have been mine.
Was it?
It was. It's called How to Save the PlayStation Vita. Ironically, even then.
Wait, you both had the same first episode?
Yeah, so it was. It was.
Yeah,
we saved it.
Great work, guys.
It was a bunch of people on. It was like 5 different segments. So it was like, I think I started it and talked about like I did buy a Vita at launch, and then you had like Audrey and someone else talking about why they didn't care.
What a surprise! Audrey didn't buy one.
If I remember right, it was like a bunch of people. You might have been on that one.
Right. Yeah, I always remember getting asked to be on the show by Greg and Colin, who are 2 people that I looked up to tremendously and also was like a little bit intimidated by when I first started. Greg definitely more because you're large and intimidating, like
Colin more for me,
and
for
loud. Kind of like me, and we smell our own. And Colin, I got along with almost instantly because I realized he was from the East Coast and he was a curmudgeon-y Italian, and he had just stories about the same kind of shit I grew up with about like how to make pasta sauce and how you don't put avocado on everything with fucking mozzarella on it and all this stuff. Like we were like living in the same cities basically and being like, can you believe that place down the street is making meatball marinara with kale? Like what the fuck is wrong? Shit like that, So immediately I got connected with him, and I remember my earliest memories of dealing with Colin was that he was doing the Fallout 3 guide for what felt like 2.5 years.
Yeah, how many words did that end up being?
600,000 words.
It
was 600,000 words.
600,000?
One of the most, as far as I know, at the time, I think it was the most read piece of content ever in IGN.
It's probably still in our.
is.
It's probably still in our top.
No, it's
10
probably like
regular.
GTA 5 cheats now.
You think so?
Congrats, Jared.
That's why they let me work on it for so long, because it was literally like at the top every day.
Like it's helping employ numerous people at the company.
It took me about 3 months to write that guide.
Yeah, it was. I remember specifically like the pause menu music was just ingrained in my head forever. Because I would just look over and you would either be having a good time or you'd be. No, I'll put it this way. You're either completely flat playing the game, being like whatever, or you'd be furious and you'd be getting up and ranting and raving and running around. You also had this poster inside your cubicle for Deadly Towers, which I have always regarded as the worst video game ever made.
Yeah, Broderbund.
Yeah,
Shout out.
just the fucking.
Broder and Bun both listen to the podcast.
So when I finally got invited on, GameSpy I think had gone away. A whole bunch of people had either gotten laid off or left, and I had gotten moved over to IGN. And Greg and Colin invited me on, and I was like, "This is like fucking huge for me. Like this is awesome. This is a huge honor that I get to be on this show." And then I guested periodically throughout the years until we did the Frank Furlano episode, which was one of the most probably special podcasts I've ever done, where we got a call from the Children's Life Foundation in Canada, which is basically like Canadian Make-A-Wish.
Yeah.
And they were like, there's a kid there in Toronto named Frank Furlano, and he wants to meet you guys. We're like, this is his wish?
When they emailed me about that, I was like, yeah.
What about Wayne Gretzky or something like that? Other Canadian heroes, such as Wayne Gretzky.
And Mitch.
And Celine Dion and Mitch Dyer.
Is she Canadian?
Oh, maybe? Yeah,
she is.
Didn't she marry her manager when she was like 12 or some weird?
Yeah, she was young. Yeah, I think she's from Quebec.
Isn't she with like James Brolin now? I think.
Yeah, Josh Brolin.
No,
not.
You see me Brolin? What? That was.
So enjoying this podcast? So anyway, subscribe, share. Have you subscribed to the Beyond YouTube channel yet? This will be a breakout. Who's
right.
Celine Dion? Fucking now. I don't think you curse in the show, do you?
It's fine.
You're fine. Yeah, it's fine.
I feel like Pear's gonna be fine with this.
Good.
Celine Dion's allowed at least 5 fucks per concert. So.
But is that true? That was
that's
Frank
totally
Furlano was
true,
your.
What is that true?
You feel like the Frank Furlano episode was like your first episode, like
no,
because you've
think
been on
it's
so
just-
much.
I've been on a lot, but that was one of the most special, one of the most important.
Yeah,
ones.
for sure. On that level.
Just because it was just like it felt like we were summoned by somebody from somebody higher above the room who was like, I'm listening to everything going on in there, and I'm a huge fan, and I want these 3 guys to come meet me. And I don't think that he knew that we were going to show up with podcast equipment and
No,
video
he didn't know we were
equipment.
coming. Remember, the lie we told was that we were going to... Sean Finnegan was in town because he was doing some profile for EA.
Yeah.
And so he was going to come by and film a conversation with us over the phone.
Which is almost like the saddest make. I love Sean Finnegan.
Well, no. You could see it and hear it in Frank's voice or face if you're watching it. Where he comes in, he's like, "So what's happening?" And he's like, "We're going to call him." And he's like, "Oh. Okay." You know what I mean? And then
he loves hiking, and he's hiked all the way to Toronto to hang out
just
with you.
to
He's
meet
like,
you.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I put out a call for some better IGNers than that. Some Anyway, and then we all walked in the room,
Yeah.
and just the sheer delight in his face and just surprise. I was like nervous going in there because I was just like, I don't know how this is going to play. And it ended up being one of my favorite episodes of the show.
100%.
And not only just because it was special what we were doing, but because he was a fucking awesome guest.
Yeah.
Like, he could hang. He could hold it down.
Yeah.
Like, and he told us that...
He made fun of you the whole time, I remember.
The entire time.
Yeah.
Actually, him and I were teaming up against you guys because, we were the outsiders in the scenario, so whatever.
I forget there was something you had or hadn't done or something that he was giving you shit for.
Oh, that's right. What was that? You can go back and watch.
Yeah,
Frank
You
Furlano
had a
make
bunch
fun
of
of me.
sauce on your shirt?
Oh, almost certainly.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
his mom made us pasta sauce.
Oh my God!
No, really?
No. His parents were out of fucking control.
Colin and I were in heaven.
Yeah, it was there.
I know, I was too.
Italian,
Yeah.
like they were just cooking all day. I
I'm
was like,
shocked
I don't
that
want
the Furlanos know how to make pasta
Dude,
sauce.
it was. They were like the sweetest people. They were like so
Yeah.
stunned that we came because the big piece is that you had come from San Francisco, but right? You weren't at PSX, the first PSX, right?
Right.
We came from
We were red-eyed from
Vegas
Vegas.
to Toronto with no sleep,
Yeah.
Yep.
and we were like fucking dead.
We asked them, and they because it was Children's Wish Foundation, right? Or Miracle Wish Foundation. They had put us up in a hotel for 4 hours. We landed at the Toronto airport, went there, slept, got up, and went to Frank's house.
Yeah.
And it was such a roller coaster of emotions for me. Of course, I'm just an emotional ball of wreck all the time.
Yeah.
But like we had done Beyond at PSX. And it was the first PSX, but we knew it was our final live Beyond. Sure. And so at the end, we still hadn't said anything. So at the end, I got all choked up trying to tell people, no matter what, no matter where I went, how much they meant, how much the show meant to me. And then to go there and then be there for Frank, have him be elated, his parents break down talking to us about stuff. And then, like Frank's, by the way, still great. Still talk to him all the time. Still DM him all the time.
I mean, it's one of those amazing, it's that dichotomy of, because that was what, December 2014?
Yeah.
First PSX?
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where you have the entire room full of people, and you get that one high off that, you get that one thing, but then right afterwards you have that one-on-one interaction, which is like, oh, this means something.
Yeah, that
which
was
is something. It's easy to take for granted, but a reminder of that is
you guys are in a different spot because I think the internet's in a different spot. But that was the biggest thing about early Beyond is that we went in there and I made a joke about Jeff Haynes and we fired it off and I forgot all about it. And then that people to this day will still make that joke to me, and it's like, when we were doing it and people were writing in to be the official whatever of Podcast Beyond, it was so weird because for us it was this thing we had to do, and we're in here and Clements is putting it up and we're all screaming at Clements and making him super angry because like that was always the one too where like one episode Clements used to edit the old show because none of us understood how to, and there was one episode where we were like, let's put in the Silver and Gold song, which I don't remember where it's from.
it's silver, like the. Is that a
There's
Christmas
like
Carol?
there's a some kind of like old cartoon or something that has like a silver and gold.
That, as a fan, was probably my favorite episode to listen to because you guys just kept doing it over and over because you knew every time you said it, you had to end it in.
Yeah, and so Clements, of course, being like the noob on the crew of like 2 months or whatever, like, and his boss making the silver and this is Roper, his boss making the silver and gold joke over and over again. Clements had to go through and listen to the podcast, and every time we do it, clip it and put it in, and clip it and put it in.
It's almost like having to jot down every time one of you swear.
Yep.
Oh, I know that. I know that one.
Well, that was like when we did. I don't know how we have a lot of things on our show where we'll have a typo with our mouth basically, and it'll turn into a running joke, and then we'll run it into the ground and never touch it again. And a lot of people were just like, "Why did you guys talk about ham for a whole episode?" And I'm like, "Look, man, I've been on this show. It gets dumb. It gets dumb as hell. Don't pretend like it's never been like this before. It's always been like this."
That was my favorite part of like in this time period after us, where like they are ruining the show. They did a whole show where they ate a ham, and I'm like, "Do you remember the drunk podcast? Do you remember the one we started?" And Colin's like, "I just took a giant shit. Let me tell you all about it." And I'm like, "All right." Like,
also the fact that I feel like the ham episode was in the same month as you guys spending 35 minutes ordering food at the beginning of your episode. I'm like, listen, guys,
You can't please everyone, man. With that, but yeah, I got to be honest. Like the transition when we left the show, it was hard to watch from the outside because I felt bad.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to like feed it. I ignored. If you like look back at my Twitter account, I didn't say fucking shit.
Yeah.
Because like part of me really wanted to be like, why don't you guys just relax? Like,
I mean, dude,
it's like the Tonight Show, like or something like. There's a new person now. Like,
I mean, you
just
were always
relax.
sort of that way. Like your stance was so much at IGN was like, hey, we are a platform.
Yeah.
If we remain silent on something, that means like it's not worth talking about.
Right.
So I totally got that from your point of view.
Yeah, and I felt bad about it because I was just like, I don't know. I'm like, well, give him a fucking chance, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for starting another PlayStation podcast because it's sort of like Have your cake, eat it too.
That was that was the one that was like an eye-opening moment for me because we left and I knew, okay, cool, and I saw like you guys having to argue or say something every so often. I was like, man, that sucks that it's happening. But I was same thing. I'm like, I'm not gonna get involved because no matter what any of us were saying in those first 6 months, it was twisted and manipulated.
Yep.
That they said this on a podcast in chat, or if you even tweeted like, thanks, I don't like Podcast Beyond anymore, but I like your show. And you'd be like, thanks. So like, see, they hate podcast. I'm like, fuck it, I won't talk to anybody. I won't talk to anybody who mentions it. But it was the one where when we put up P.S. I Love You, you responded like. It was like a multi-part team. I'm so proud of you guys, and hopefully this makes everybody happy now. And I was like, oh crap, that's still happening. That does suck because I always go back to Beyond 300, right? And it's a tired story if you followed me for a while of getting interviewed by a fan for his IGN blog beforehand, and breaking down in tears talking about how much Beyond meant to me. I know, and then him saying though, like, where is there a podcast Beyond without Greg Miller? And I was like, in tears again. I'm like, I hope so. Like that's the whole point. Like the show's never been. Me, I was just lucky enough to be there for 381 weeks.
The show is called Beyond. It means going past.
There you go.
You know?
Oh, that's deep. That's good.
Right.
I should have had that answer. Fuck.
But yeah, no, I'm really. The Ham episode is weird. We were discussing that. We were saying how it's like, is it our White Album? And that when it first came out, it like everyone's like, this is shit. We hate this, and it's sort of like divisive. But then like later on, people are like, don't apologize for the Ham. We enjoyed the Ham. Pear did come into a room and pop his head and go. That nice Beyond. Not crazy about the Ham.
Like, all right, Pear, well, that's duly noted.
But the important thing, I think the thing that differentiates Beyond and P.S. I Love You and a lot of the other content we do, like Beyond and P.S. I Love You, I mean, I look at the iTunes charts every once in a while. There's like nothing even PlayStation related anywhere even remotely in that echelon. And I think but there's a lot of other PlayStation podcasts that are not nearly as popular. And I think that it's because it's not like, let's sit here for 3 hours and fucking read the PlayStation blog, news stories and stuff like that. We read the PlayStation blog.
I was going to say, we only do that for 20 minutes.
But not all the news stories. So we do that mostly to make fun of it because no one knows how to write, apparently.
Hey, Ryan.
No, that's not the joke. The joke is that, you guys read the drop stuff? Who the fuck writes these things?
The actual game description.
Yeah.
Like there are ones where I'm like, this is straight up Japanese put in Google Translate for sure.
Tokyo Tower has what?
So we've definitely gone off on that a bit.
Yeah.
So it's to me, it's like what's cool about it is relatable about it is like we don't. I mean, I think you guys have the same spirit. I know you guys. We don't try to talk about every game, right? We don't try to touch on every single piece of news. The Ropers report goes on for goddamn ever, but we don't try to touch everything. We don't care about Overwatch. We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to pretend we care about Gran Turismo. We don't. Just because it's an exclusive. We shit on Sony constantly, which is what makes me so mad and incredulous sometimes when people are like, these guys are fanboys. I'm like, have you listened to one show in 7 or 8 years? People at Sony probably hate me, because of all the things I say. So I think that's that honesty, it's that candor, and I also think that it's like just the silly stories and the silly relatable things. They feel like they know us, and in a lot of ways they do, because like we're talking about, it is a silly thing, but like when we started that podcast Beyond, and I was like, I just took a massive shit. And like some people are like, this is gross, but some people are just laughing. Like they were just laughing. You picture them laughing in their cars, or someone like their wife listening and being like, what is this? And you hear those stories all the time. I'd rather do that than, I respect NPR, I respect all these things, but that's not what we do. So I think that's why Beyond and P.S. I Love You are frankly so dominant.
I mean, I think it's you guys now call your community best friends, and I think it's always been that thing of like you're talking to your friends on the couch. I mean, you always used to say that it's like people knew you better by listening to that show than they might even by knowing you in real life because you just sat down for an hour and you were yourself, And I think it's like that weird. I think part of the reason people latch on to the weird things we say or inside jokes or little things that pop up is because they feel like the way that like we all latch on to weird inside jokes by being friendly with each other. I think it's like you connect with people on that weird level.
Are we friendly with each other?
I think that sticks with people more than being like, well, here are the top 5 games of the month. Like no one remembers that, I mean, like we did the infamous Second Son spoiler cast. Mm-hmm. I think it was the 3 of us.
We would have been on it for sure.
And
we had a lot to say.
I made a joke during it about how that entire game is about getting rocks out of your grandmother's legs.
Yeah.
And people were like, shit, that's true. There will be like a couple times a week where I'll check Twitter or Facebook and someone will be like, hey, I'm playing Infamous Second Son, aka that game where you get rocks out of your grandmother's legs. I'm like, I feel really bad. I really like that game, but like
that's what you boil it down to.
If you boil it down to that, but that sticks with people better than just like, I like it, 10 out of 10. I am a living text-to-speech speech converter.
And that's why all this works. You find you bring authenticity, and that brings in an audience.
I mean, that's been, since you guys handed the baton over, and we were sort of, the show has grown with us, and we've kind of got our sea legs and got this rotating crew of weirdos, which I really love. The thing I've learned
Shout out to Alana and Zach and a bunch of other friends.
Jared, all the weirdos. The main thing I've taken away from it is, like, if we don't give a shit about something, just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Like you said with, like, Gran Turismo, like, dude, Gran Turismo is it the single highest selling Sony exclusive?
It was the best-selling PS3 exclusive.
Okay. Even those weren't very good. Right?
It sold over 10 million units.
I remember I bought A-Spec. That was the third one, right?
That's a PS2.
Yeah, that was a PS2 game. I bought that, and I'm like, I'm going to like this game because everyone plays it. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck a chassis is. Like, how do I make a car?
It's
I'm
pronounced
like,
chassis.
is it chassis?
And then you spend a day and a half rotating lug nuts or whatever. And you're
But
like,
no, we get, like,
But Chris Roper loves that shit.
the moments that stick with me from the show are when you were talking about Bloodborne. Like, when you're going off on Bloodborne, like our episode after E3 where it was like, we have everything to talk about because we all saw God of War and Detroit and Horizon, and we were fucking stoked and we want to talk about them.
Well, I think it's interesting that podcasts and gaming are so intertwined, and it's like, it's weird because you think like one of these things is sort of digital radio and the other one is the most advanced medium you could possibly be playing with, but there's also that social element to gaming where, like, you go to your friend's house and he's like, check this shit out, I got to the boss, or like, oh, you're on the playground. It's like, did you know you could beat Ganon with the, bug catching net or whatever? Like, it's just that same kind of Bloodborne stuff where you're like, oh yeah, you go through this gate, you fight that guy, and
that's why it works, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
like what Goldfarb's talking about, where I used to say, you know me better. Like I podcast like I'm talking to you in my basement. That's how I wrote my reviews. And the reason it works and why podcasts have taken off, right, is the fact that I would have died for this kind of content when I was young.
Yeah.
Because in my group of friends, like Poe liked video games, but he didn't even own a console. He played at my house. So it was me reading EGM and feeling like Shu was my friend and Crispin were my friend, and then getting here and having that option, but not understanding that's what we were building and doing at the
Listening
time.
to, like, One Up Yours and, like, the One Up Show, like, back in the day, like, that shit was, like, I don't think any of this would exist probably without those things.
Yeah,
where,
sure.
like, it was the same thing. Growing up in Wisconsin, the cops are coming.
They
Cops
are.
are coming because
This podcast is on fire. The fire department's rolling up to put it out.
But yeah, it was one of those things where, like, it was for a kid growing up in the Midwest who had friends who played games but didn't think about games the same way I did. It was finally that, like, outlet to be like, oh shit, there are people out there who think about games the same way I do and want to talk about them the same way I do.
I feel like games are bigger than ever right now, but they're also more segmented than ever. Like, and the fact that there's conventions for Minecraft just shows you that there's like, oh man, you can split this down into numerous little boxes and find the people you need to find in there. And with PlayStation, that's always kind of been a thing too.
Yeah.
But like we were saying,
convention called Minecon.
It is.
it is. Yeah, I know, right?
That's not great.
Right? Not a great.
That's
Not a great.
Yeah.
Also, the summer one is Mind Camp.
Neither of those are good. Neither of those are good.
So yeah, you can beat Ganon with the bug catching net.
No, but that's why it works, right? And I always talk about it like, the reason I got popular and internet famous or whatever at IGN was the fact that I got to, for 8 years, talk about one thing.
Yeah.
And so, like, I had that core with me that then expanded as it grew. And then I got opportunities like Up at Noon and stuff like all these other things where
guys
suddenly
did
it was
Up at
like,
Noon?
yeah.
I don't know why
It
you
was
pointed
not
at me. I
nearly
have
as
shit to do
successful.
doing that.
Well, if you read the comments, it's the greatest show ever.
Everyone loves it.
It's
and
just
no
a good
one's
thing they got
mad.
that new writer. That really helped a lot.
No, the funny thing about Up and New while we're here is that everyone hated it while we were doing it, and then when Max and I started doing it, people were like, "I missed the Greg Miller version." I was like, "Where were you when we needed you?"
Drunker was like, I was suicidally depressed. Why weren't you nice to me back then?
Yeah, that's like everything I've ever jumped on or walked away from. People are like, "What? We'll bring back that old show you used to do." It's like,
Where were you?
yeah,
That's
it doesn't
what's-
have good views. What?
That's what's fascinating about, I feel like, the transition from us to you guys and then Roper to me, right? Because, like, when Dunham came on and started the show and then he transitioned away and Roper took over, that was so fluid and so short, nobody knew what we were doing. And then it was 115-ish, 110-ish episodes of where we were going fine, and then Roper got laid off. And I had already been there for a while, so, I mean, I stepped in to host. And so it was like, okay, you've been here since the beginning. This makes sense. It's still kind of the same show. I always talk about it that it didn't. So like 115, we'll say, to 150. 150 is where it made sense. We had a logo. That was the Beyond logo that you guys still use, right? Yeah. I mean, like that's where we solidified. This is the show. The show is me. It's Colin. It's Clements. We have a thing and we're doing it. And it's great.
And it's weird that Clements got let go literally the night after the day after the PS4 reveal. So it was almost like the PS4 era of us actually talking about the PS4 was all minus Ryan, which is a really weird window too.
And so like that, and yeah, we had the ever rotating third chair. So there was never another anchor. So then we tried to bring you in at the very end, Marty. You know what I mean? Of like, okay, we're going. Let's try to build you up as a person.
Yeah, it was by that November, I guess, of 2014, where you guys knew that you were leaving at the beginning of the year, but that you were going to stick around for a little bit to sort of
transition over.
Yeah, transition the show. Yeah, and that was also when they, brought me in and we're like, and I'd been on probably half a dozen episodes before that. I think my first episode was actually, it was like a one-off, but it was at New York Comic Con. It was me, you, and Veronica Belmont.
The panel, in
like 2013,
Yep.
I want to say.
That sounds right.
Yeah, but it was eventually they were like, hey, so the guys are leaving in a couple months. We'll start easing this in, and then we knew that we had to replace you, and then that's when the Max conversation started.
Right.
The Comic-Con thing was actually, I remember watching, I don't know if it was the same one, but you guys did a panel at Comic-Con, which I think completely exemplifies what the show is, in that you two were talking to each other, and you were having this intermittent kind of funny conversation, and then the camera panned around.
Oh, yeah.
And there was an entire crowd of people watching you, yelling and cheering beyond. And I remember just being like, that's what this show is.
Yeah.
This is a highly personal group of people that click with each other that are somehow miraculously resonating with this entire group of incredibly passionate.
Miraculous it is.
Yes. And that was so cool to see. It was so fucking awesome to be like, this is what these guys are doing. This is what these guys built. Like, there's tangible proof that they can fill a room full of people. And, working on the internet, you don't always realize that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we always say this. We go to conventions to kind of refill the battery about why we do this, because otherwise sometimes you have a bad day, you read a lot of bad stuff, bad stories, bad comments or whatever, and you turn around and there's human beings sitting there hugging you, wearing shirts.
We had a kid come in the office last week.
That was probably the most enthusiastic fan we've ever met. He's like 9 or something. Came in, literally jumping up and down and like shouting our names, and it was like the coolest. It's a nice product placement there.
I turned it.
Blur that out like you're in a rap video.
Am I gonna get in trouble?
Brought to you by generic beer.
Yes. Yes, beer. Anyway, he came in and he was just like, he was super enthusiastic and he was just like totally stoked, and his whole family was like, yeah, he listens to you guys all the time, and we're like, we're really sorry. Like,
Yep. Oh yeah.
She's like, I have no idea what you guys talk about, but I hear it,
Yeah, and he was stoked. Like I literally don't think I've ever been that excited. And I had
That made
sex
my day.
twice. It was incredible.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That day?
Humble brag.
No, a long time ago I was driving at that point and got lost. But like when we started it, you didn't know that there were people out there connecting on that level. And I remember paying my way to my first PAX because back in you have to understand that there was a time where IGN's like, we should probably cancel all podcasts. Like they aren't making us money, and this it's taking up so much time. And there was an argument about it. And like I was one of the people of like, I didn't know at the time what the relationship was, but I'm like, they have to be coming here and reading the reviews. Like there has to be some kind of attachments, because we didn't. This is in the days where there weren't even comments on articles. You posted an article and you went to the boards and you posted that, hey, I just put up an article, and then they were there and they were all like, we hate you. We like the forums and we hate you. I'm like, oh God.
I don't know.
But like you'd go to PAX and I'd come back and be like,
Yep.
You don't understand what's happening. You need to send everyone. We all need to go. Like, we can't do that. We can't make that happen.
There's an intangible element to that.
I think it's the social side of the internet. It's like we're kind of inundated with like, oh, it's social media. You're sharing, you're liking, you're commenting, but it's also not really social. But I feel like a bunch of people having a conversation and talking, there's something much more kind of natural about that. And then going to meet people who maybe you're connecting on a common interest, like games or a podcast, and you get that. And you get Kind of Funny Live, and you get all these people together, and they're like, people get into relationships because they go join a Facebook group for shit like this, and it just blows my mind perpetually. And it's the opposite of asshole commenters just being like, "Oh, I don't like that. Am I the only one who doesn't think this is funny?" No, there's probably lots of people who don't think it's funny.
Literally millions.
Yeah.
The majority of Earth doesn't like this content.
Like people masturbating to like pregnant cartoon animals in diapers, like.
Hey, let's not throw rocks. Let's not throw rocks from our glass house.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one. Am I the only one who? No, you're not. There's a guy with 2 dicks posting on Reddit. You're not the only one.
Does he actually have 2 of them?
Yeah, he posted a picture. It's fascinating. He's also apparently got like 8 significant others because they got to do this whole fucking wacky Katamari thing with their sex
There's the
stuff.
joke.
Wow.
Anyway,
Is this our other White Album?
I don't know. If you hate something on the internet, go find something you like, and I think that's such a big takeaway.
Yeah.
The fact that there are still people listening to this crap, and it's nice to sit here with you guys.
Greg,
and
you got a
bullshit,
weird
just
hover
hang
hand. I
out.
don't like.
I
what's
was
going on
moving
there.
around to see if anybody else wanted. I'm going to move it around while I talk now, too, because Zach like that. But
The microphone gets very hot in your hands when you hold it for too long.
Yeah, that's what the Nelly song "Hot and Her" is about.
I love that song.
I think that's
That
true.
song's really good.
The
right?
Nelly follow-up record.
I was
Yeah.
like, good gracious, ass. Why don't you wear the mic?
The other thing that I think is interesting just about being, I guess, like an internet personality, especially like, I'm like way more reclusive and just kind of like, I just rarely talk about video games on Twitter, and I don't know, I just am who I am, I guess. I posted a sweet Hillary Clinton meme today that I think people are going to really like.
Congrats, man.
I think it said something like laws are only for poor people.
We all need our own white album.
But the one thing that's interesting too is that people do feel like they know you and stuff, and sometimes it's very, most of the time I think, or a lot of times it's very endearing. Sometimes it's not, and like the people that like study me and are like I'm just on the podcast listening.
Yeah.
And I guess I have like resting bitch face a lot, which is fine. But I like
you're an Italian guy from the East Coast. Like that's what RBF
and then they're
is
they're
out
like
of the womb.
Colin's, and then it's like you read the comments like Colin's depressed, something's wrong with Colin, and then you're like, and then there's like these next week that people are like garnering off those comments, and I'm like, I'm literally just listening.
Yeah.
But
the week after, you're like, hey everyone, it's me, Colin. I'm actually depressed right now. And they're like, Colin's doing a lot better. You're like, are you paying attention to me?
Yeah, I did. I ended up doing like shows about like, I'm a pretty morose, sad dude. This is why I don't like going to shows. So I almost feel like I have to explain myself because people are so attached to these podcasts, which we appreciate so much, that they almost feel like they're getting a peek behind the curtain. So you give them a peek behind the curtain every once in a while to let them know like, things are fine or things aren't fine. And here's why or whatever. But when you live, like, especially I think Greg and I now, which we didn't do before, but like we live our lives, really do live our lives on the internet now.
1/4 mile at a time.
One crawling out of my bed to the fucking studio at a time. And it's like, so people really do get this like extra glimpse in you. And to me, it's become like super overwhelming.
Right.
Do
you get that thing where if you're sick and someone's like, oh, he's not here today because he's sick, everyone's like,
What is
oh
he
my
doing?
God, are you okay? Like they jump on social media and they're like, hey, I heard you were ill. And you're like, I had a cold. Like, what? No, it's fine. I'm good. You didn't need to get my homework for me. I'll be in tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the concern and all that kind of stuff. Super appreciated. Like the insight. It's sweet. It's exactly what it is.
It's also creepy.
But it's also like it's one of those things that started on Podcast Beyond and has hit its stride. I think in many ways with Kind of Funny now is just because we're so fucking all over the place with this stuff. That like people like. I almost feel bad sometimes. I'm like, I'm fine. Like I'm Colin. I hate half the things that happen in my life every day.
But on the flip side, you have. I think
there's
the
a
thing
camera
is,
on me.
Yeah.
Because you do this with Greg, and Greg's the guy that he loves this. He loves that side of it. We started the running joke on Podcast Beyond of like, can't you just have dinner?
Thank you for that, by the way. It's never gotten old.
I stopped making it. If all I can do is throw something out there, if they
It's
still
Is that you?
It's a comeuppance for everything I've ever done to anyone else on a podcast.
And to be fair, Colin totally keeps it going all the time. But Greg will be like, oh, I'm going to the airport.
Colin
I'm going to a
involved-
meetup, and Colin's like, are you goddamn kidding me?
Colin evolved it into the ego thing, and for a month it didn't take off, and I was like, "Oh, good, it's failing," and then it totally took off. I'm like, "God damn it!"
Well, it's like they're at RTX. I didn't go to Rooster Teeth Expo or whatever, and like Stone Chin or someone's like tweeting out videos of Greg at 6 a.m. and getting surrounded by people at the airport. This is out of control.
Yeah.
Just say like hello and move on with your life. It's fine. It's
I didn't
fine.
tell them to come to that gate.
I
They
didn't
just
ask
came.
for this. It's fine.
They'll find you. They'll find you no matter what.
Baggage claim.
It's all out of
I was
love.
waiting for a
I'm amazed they're not here right now, just because we put out enough clues of like, this is what we're doing, this is when.
I
this
love
is
the
when
people who
we're
saw it out of order though, where they were like, because you're like, we're doing a podcast at Jackalope, and then the next one was like, can't wait to podcast or something like that. And like, is it good? Where is it? Can we come? And like, it's a one tweet back. Like, do a little bit of legwork here.
One tweet back is a million years on the internet.
It's like when people Google or not Google you when they tweet you like how to Google something.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? We just fucking go Google it.
Yeah, I feel like the good news is that you need that like that dichotomy.
Yeah.
You know? Without like if Greg and I were both the same, that would suck.
Oh,
you know.
100%.
So like well maybe it wouldn't suck so much for us, but for the audience, it would totally be I think boring.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like I think the
We
yin and
counterbalance
the
each other.
yang I think it works out pretty well with whatever we do or whatever. But the point was that a lot of that started on Podcast Beyond, and that's why I'm so appreciative of the show and why Podcast Beyond is like really actually quite important to me. Just as important as the IGN brand, I think, is actually Podcast Beyond, because I started freelancing for IGN in 2002. I was freelance for 5 years. I was an intern, and I got my job offer from, and I've said it before, but I think I'm the only editor that ever got a job offer without the job even going public at all. And I'm really proud of that. You know, I worked really
Same here.
hard.
Technically, I got a job at GameSpot, but I got an offer without it actually going on the what would they put it on like Craigslist or something like that, or like some job
They
board?
just put it in the
resume.
Craig Harris list.
And I was like super proud of that. I graduated Northeastern and I got the job offer, and so I was associated with IGN for a really long time. I was 18 years old. In fact, I was actually, when they first contacted me, I was 17 and I was about to turn 18, and that was when I was able to sign the contracts. And
Barely
so,
legal.
You were sleeping on people's couches and stuff, right?
Yeah, when I was the first time I was an intern in 2003, I slept on Fran's couch.
How was that?
He was super nice. Like that, that's why I have like a great affinity for Fran.
He was
Like,
normal back then, though.
He used to drive a car. He used to drive like a white Chrysler with the trunk knocked off of it. You
white
guys ever seen?
Crisis.
Have you ever seen?
Samus was the name of the
His license plate was Samus, S-A-M-U-S.
Said
Metro.
Samus.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
He had a monster
he got his car got hit by like a bulldozer or something like that. Like seriously. And so they had like the trunk got so the trunk got ripped off, but like the things that held the trunk up were like these spikes. So then they put like these monster hands on them, and he was driving this. You got dude. There are pictures
That's
of this.
right.
There are
They
pictures
decked
of
out
this.
his car.
There are pictures. There are definitely pictures of this.
Real quick, Chris Ostertag, all the way from Austin, Texas, reports in that the owner of Eddie Rickenbacker was named Henry Africa. His real name...
No, he wasn't.
His real name was Norman, but everybody called him Henry Africa.
That's problematic.
That's bizarre.
For multiple reasons. And then the second time I was an intern, that was when I was here for a whole summer. That was in 2004. I went to my first E3 that year, which was like the Zelda E3 for Twilight Princess and Doom 3 and all that. And I think they might have talked about Project Revolution or something. I don't really remember. But I was literally like taking video cassettes from publishers and like making videos and putting them up. And I don't know, I slept on Chris Carl's an air mattress in Chris Carl's apartment for 2 months, and then I slept on Mark Ryan lived in a studio apartment, and I slept on the floor with a quilt and a pillow. And
Which was like was he your boss at the time?
no, Chris Carl was our boss, and he was like
Okay, because he was running like guides and wikis that you ended up writing for.
Right, and
I remember he would come in and just like whoop everybody's ass in Street Fighter.
Well, that's another incredible IGN story. It was IGN for Haiti, I think, when he challenged you. It was like 200 matches on Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
When we raised money for Haiti, and he was my boss at the time, and he's like an expert at Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and he promised me, and I think we went to pair, and like it was like this whole ridiculous thing, like if you beat me one time in 100 matches, I will resign.
Right.
They will promote you to my position, and then like I will come back on.
It was
underneath
just
you.
one character even.
Yeah, like, and I could like at the end I was like choosing his team, like three serve bots, and like.
Did you beat him?
And he was destroying me. He just destroyed me. We did it. It's all on camera. It must be on video on demand somewhere.
No, that's the thing. No, it's not, because we did the 24-hour Dark Souls live stream, literally 24 hours, and none of it's VOD.
None of it's.
Yeah, that was a great idea. We did not carry that through the finish line.
I mean, there were some weird moments during that Haiti thing, so I'm glad a lot of that's hard to find. I think it was just like it was like what happens. It was kind of like watching the movie UHF, where they do the telethon at the end, and you're like, oh, at the end you just brought two guys out to go like.
I think Colin, the intersection of your Beyond career and your IGN career, like I think it was 200 when you announced you were switching over to editorial from guides, and like there's stuff like it's cool watching kind of the timelines align for people, like where you find, like I've listened to old random episodes Beyond before where it's like just as someone got promoted or just as someone had like a major life event, and it's like I think that's why people feel so connected to it, because you get a glimpse into not just like, okay, they're talking about whatever the Heavy Rain got announced this week or whatever random thing, they're also talking about, okay, like this is like kind of a window into that person's life in this moment.
I mean, you see that with you. Like, you went through between GameSpy and Comedy Button. Like, people can see you getting out of a relationship and being a depressed alcoholic, and then finding the love of your life and
still
getting married.
And being a happier alcoholic.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's funny. Like where you could be like, if you listen to episode 7, I get dumped, but if you listen to episode 130, I marry somebody completely different.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, this is kind of a cool way to track your life through this undercurrent story of video games and pop culture and stupidity and everything else that brings us together.
And I think that's what's cool about Kind of Funny is that you guys literally by necessity are talking about starting a new job in the same time you're starting your new shows. Like it's kind of a cool transition point in your lives, not just because it's okay, episode 1 of the Gamescast or whatever it is, but like it's episode 1 of this is our new life.
Yeah, it's also like, hey, we're figuring our shit out, figure it out with us.
Yeah.
And things will fail, things will get better, we'll make things through this, but like stick around with us because hopefully you trust us.
Yeah, and I think that it was a difficult kind of, you know, I don't want to understand. I think we talked about it at some point. Again, I don't know what the hell I talk about on any podcast, but that's the point I was making. Really, was that like I was associated with IGN from when I was 18 to when I was 30 in a full-time capacity. That's all I did. They paid and even when I was at Northeastern, like studying something unrelated, that's what I did in my spare time. Like I made a lot of money as a college kid freelancing. And it was so it was a great blessing, and I was going to start grad school when I got my job offer. So like they totally pulled me out of this like academic route that I was on, and leaving IGN was like really difficult. And you know, it was sad. I mean, I don't know if I've ever told the story. Like when we decided I was in New York early because that's where I'm from, whatever, before Comic-Con that year. And the three of us were on the phone, or the four of us were on the phone, and they were all together, and we had decided to quit. And but I wasn't even there, whatever. And I got like over those 3 or 4 days, because I have like, as people know, I have serious like stomach and colon issues or whatever, and like I got like more violently sick than I've ever been in my entire life.
I remember when
Yeah,
you got
that
sick
show.
because you were working Comic-Con for us, and you were like, I can't do this. Like I didn't realize those were connected. I thought you just ate a lot of dough.
No, it was like I was like so fucked up that like over the decision. Like I knew it was the right decision for us. I knew we were gonna be fine, but like it was like the end of an era. Like I really never thought I'd ever leave, and so I owe a great deal to IGN. And leaving Podcast Beyond was even harder, I think, because like we really like that was like the highlight of our week in a lot of ways. Like we, you know, in the doldrums of like the editorial pit, when you have to like do things that you don't want to do, or just you know, you're reviewing games you want to review, you're going to preview events, which I fucking hate. You know, like it was like that was our respite from like all of that kind of stuff. And so IGN as a brand like meant and means a great deal to me. I'm always rooting for you guys from the sideline, and Podcast Beyond like meant a lot to me too. And that's why I was trying to make the comparison of like the Jack Parr to Carson kind of thing, or Steve Allen. It's like, and that's what I was asking people. I'm like, can you even tell me like, yeah, you remember the Tonight Show with Leno, but like, and you remember with Carson, there were people that were watching it with Steve Allen. Yeah. Like, you don't even know who the fuck Steve Allen is. Yeah. So that doesn't mean the brand. Doesn't mean the brand dies.
The Daily Show with Craig Kilborn.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, so like the brand doesn't die. Sometimes the brand gets strengthened, and so for Podcast Beyond, I'm also rooting for it for the sideline. And that's when I said before that I felt bad, because I just feel like you guys got to just chill, because in a couple of years, and you already have these listeners, but you're gonna have a lot of them as the years go by. Like they don't even know who the hell we are. Yeah. And that's fine. You know, like it's not about us.
It's important. Like that legacy is obviously incredible and important, but it's also like you guys just as people, I think like all of us probably have some way that you kind of enriched IGN Beyond and everything else. For me, it's like Colin Campbell, incredible guy, like a really great writer, but like he didn't give a shit about training a new hire. So it's like you essentially, like you and Rich really trained me, and like I went with you to the PlayStation All-Stars, Little Big Planet karting, God of War Ascension event, and that was like that was the first time they let me leave the office. Like that was the first like trip I went on.
That was the first time you let yourself leave, though. A lot of that was your fault.
So I was just so
he was young. That was when he was still taking advice from people. Yeah.
No, but I mean, like it's that weird, and like with both of you, like being on this show and just working with you every day, like I do feel like I watch myself on really old videos. Like there's an old conversation with us in the like first floor conference room when Sony bought Gaikai. Yeah. Like I look at myself now versus then, it's like I am more confident, and I do feel like better by virtue of having worked with you guys for even a year and a half.
It's because he's so muscular.
Andrew's really muscular now. He's going to take his shirt off. Take your shirt off.
Not going to do that.
Clements did it on a Beyond 200 or 300. 6 of them.
It's fine. We went a full hour without talking about your chest.
But no, I mean, I think you guys, God damn it.
I understand what you're saying.
I'm sorry that you were being like very sweet and genuine, and that
whip out those baby belly rocks. Get those, old stones out there.
Belly rocks.
To the point of what you're talking about, right? Like you figure for me at IGN, I was on GameScoop episode 23 or whatever the hell it was, 22. Like second week of IGN. Yeah. And so like there is for me in the audience and so many of our fans, not, I always talk about like the kind of funny IGN Venn diagram is a circle, right? They're right there. It's like for our fans got to see someone finally living the dream so many of them had. Because I was that hire that got there with the wide eyes and like, this is all I've ever wanted. And I got to say that and then go on this journey. And whether you're talking, like whether it was my divorce, my cancer, going to find kind of funny, there's all these different things people were there for.
I was gonna say it's like it's dumb when you say divorce and cancer, and I'm like, well, it's kind of like X-Men, really. But it is like you got this old ass team. Like nobody when you say X-Men, everyone thinks Wolverine, But the original team was like a bunch of like rich white kids, and they're just fucking around in upstate of school or whatever. Yeah. But then like you get to the 70s, and there's like there you go. And then you get to like the 70s, they're like, let's get Storm and Wolverine Colossus in there, and then it gets to the 90s, and they're like, there's too many fucking mutants. Let's split them off into two teams, and there's like if you want to find out what they're both doing, you got to follow both of them. And oh shit, you have to read 2 comic books.
See, like this
I
lineup
kinda
right
like
here.
That actually
Actually,
works.
that's a great analogy.
Somehow actually works.
This is like X-Men Annual. You know,
Yeah.
like this is
See,
one of those holographic covered pieces.
Throw
of shit.
all that out there. This is like Extreme Ghostbusters when they brought back the real Ghostbusters for an episode or two, and they were all together.
As long as they don't
That's
make
awesome.
the Ghostbusters all girls.
Who would ever be dumb enough to do that?
Do you guys want to? Let's take a break and then we'll come back. Also, I just had to pee. So
Beyond.
Come back.
Beyond.
Hi, Dad.
Beyond.
And we are back.
Wait, hold on.
What are we holding out
Now
for?
we're back.
All right, we're good.
Okay, thanks, Max. That was that was wonderful. We are
All right,
back.
hold on.
We've all urinated. We've clanked.
Clinking and drinking.
We're gonna go over some questions. We sent out a call for questions. Is it?
What? What do you want?
I like how Colin's just like, just get on with it. Yeah, we sent out a call for questions. We have questions from Facebook, questions from email. Facebook, was it facebook.com/group/
Podcast Beyond.
Podcast Beyond.
That's the one.
We took some questions from YouTube, which is youtube.com/IGN Beyond.
I thought you said Mewtwo. I
Mewtwo.
was like, what is that
Mewtwo
fucking monster I want to know about?
Mewtwo.com
He's psychic. He should know
/IGN.
the answers already.
Yeah, that is weird, right? Umar Bajwa asks, so happy to have Greg and Colin back on the show. My question is, do the members of the current Beyond crew have citizenship to Vita Island?
Oh, I bought the shirt today.
Thank you.
That's a really awesome shirt.
/store.
Yeah. So what's if somehow someone doesn't know what Vita Island, what's the deal with Vita Island?
It's where all us Vita founders live right now,
Mm-hmm.
where we don't want you anymore. Everybody's always like, the Vita's dead. We're like, sure, if you say that, go ahead. We're on Vita Island.
Yeah.
We are a republic unto ourselves. We are moving fine. We have our own industry here. Everything's great. I always say we based it very loosely on North Korea. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Miller. Why is this an island and not like an offshore oil rig, much like Mother Base?
I'll leave this, of course, to our Emperor Colin Moriarty.
Just is because that's the first word that we came up with. Yeah, Vita Island is just a place of pride, of great pride, where we exist with our Vita, we exist with our ridiculously small, expensive memory cards, and we
How is
enjoy
that
it.
still a thing?
I was going to ask you because I
Excuse
actually
me,
went to
it's pronounced proprietary.
Oh, I was saying proprietary.
I was going
memory
to buy
cards.
another one of those recently, and I realized that we are rapidly reaching a point in time where a Vita memory card might become more expensive than a Vita.
A Vita memory card is more expensive than a 2DS. You could go and buy an entire machine.
You could actually, I think you could probably buy a 2DS and like 3 games for the cost of a 64 gigabyte.
But here's
Vita
the thing
memory
about that is that
card. There's an engagement
then you
ring
have
in
to
each
play
one.
a 2DS.
Suck it, NBC.
Yeah, suck
That's
it,
what happens
NBC.
when you're on 2 podcasts.
But I forget it.
So are you, you liar.
Colin, I've noticed his entire cast is on another one. Sometimes I'll start playing in a lock thinking it's Beyond. And then I'm like, wait, why is McCaffrey? Oh, fuck, this isn't the
Why
right
is Marty
show.
the Australian one talking about Banjo-Kazooie?
Why is
What's
Moon
the
Knight
cutoff?
an
What's the
Avenger?
cutoff we set for what year? We had a date, December something or other?
I think it was. And it's like a Mike TV or whatever in fucking.
The scandal is finally
a
broken.
Goose's Gloop where the dad bites the top of the microphone
That
off.
was the second. We bought that movie like 2 hours before we
I
started
know, I was
recording.
just talking about that movie 2 hours ago.
Also a Taylor
I think the cutoff was something like early 2014 or something
Alright,
like
so
that.
if you own a Vita before then, you are fine. You're on Vita Island.
I inherited the Vita from 1UP. They sent us a bunch of them, and then IGN killed our website. And I was like, I'm not taking this Vita. I'm taking this Wii U.
Hey,
I'm
you
taking
killed
these
yourself.
multiple
Yeah,
360s.
also, that Vita is not your Vita anymore.
So that Vita, I spilled rum and kombucha on
You can't even say kombucha right.
leaving this bar with a bartender.
What were you playing?
I was playing. Marty tries to. Nothing. I was playing.
You already
nothing.
said you left with the bartender, and what I cued in us with the Vita. I want to know what you were playing right there.
Oh, it's probably P4 Golden.
Yeah.
Have you heard of it?
Oh man, is that why you didn't
Rum and
finish that game?
kombucha it sounds like a game that would be on the Vita.
Yeah.
Like some shit
Rum
that
and kombucha?
NIS America
I like
puts
it.
out.
It is on his.
Everybody buy Taco Master.
No one buy Taco Master.
Easy
More
platinum.
questions. ABR Pearl Pro
Wait, hold on,
7795.
hold on.
I
Wait.
think I literally just
Wait.
summoned a demon by
Hold
saying
on,
that.
hold
What's
on.
up?
I want to say the first thing I did when I got my Vita, I was very excited about it. I got it
Pornography.
at launch. It showed up at my old work. It was really great. The first thing I did was I opened it up and I took it out. And I was very excited to have this new toy, but I put it down and I had a shitty N-Gauge in my desk. And the first thing I was shot an unboxing video where I put it in that like styrofoam sleeve with the N-Gauge in there. And I was like, oh guys, really excited to have this Vita here. This is a really great video. And I just opened it up and I'm like, what? What fuck is this? And then I dropped my phone or something. But I
guarantee you, someone on the internet was like, "Oh man, I can't believe they actually put an N-Gauge in one of those boxes." You know, that's not.
But I was like, Zach, can we put this up on the D-Toy channel or Rev3 Games? And my old producer's name was Zach too, and he was like,
Weird.
no. And I was like, all right, fine.
I mentioned that trip earlier, the God of War Ascension Little Big Planet karting. We got our codes for Killzone Mercenary during that trip, and I've never seen you go from so excited to so disappointed over the course of 12 hours, because we got them that night and you were like, all right, I'm gonna stay in and see what I can do with this, and then the next morning we went to the airport and you were like, oh my god, this game is.
Was it Resistance Burning Skies?
Oh no, it was Burning Skies.
Yeah, I was gonna say because Killzone Mercenary was actually good.
Mercenary was great.
You get what, a 4?
It was. I'm sorry.
Was that a 4?
I don't even remember.
It was something bad.
It was Burning Sky.
I don't review Resistance games.
That was one where you're a fucking fireman.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Riley.
Wait,
that game
there was a
was-
Resistance game where you were a fireman?
Yeah. It was made in 2 weeks.
Nice. I mean, it was one of the most successful Game Jam games ever.
It was made in the back of a car.
Fucking atrocious. It was
Yeah.
one of the worst. And they also made that Call of Duty game that sucked.
Oh, that game was so bad.
Once they were out, it was so bad they changed their name. They were like, all right, you know what? We're not the nihilistic anymore.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this a lot and beyond, but I think that the reason the Vita is awesome is when it doesn't try to be a baby PS3 or baby PS4,
Yep.
and it does focus on not necessarily its hardware limitations, but I think it's a tremendously awesome home to cooler, smaller
Also,
indie games.
tearaway sound shapes.
Yeah.
Those are the things I think of when I think of my Vita.
Yeah, less so Assassin's Creed
Liberation. Yeah.
It had an identity crisis, right? We always
Yeah.
talk about it. It's a device caught between PS3 and PS4
Yep.
in the way that PS4, obviously, it works for remote play. That was clearly something they built into it, but they couldn't say it back then. And then in the same way that Sony changed so much from being a company from PS3 to PS4, where PS4 they come out and we're all about games, not about gimmicks. We've learned our lessons. In Vita, I still always say is still about gimmicks. If that thing didn't have the front touch, didn't have the back touch, it was just a game system, and there was that power and that price point brought down.
Do you feel bad signing them because of the back touch? There's nowhere to sign on that fucking
No,
thing.
what I did this year at RTX, it was the first one where everyone I signed, I then handed over, and before they let go, I'd say, put clear nail polish on it. Because I'm so sick of people going and then a day later tweeting me photos of my signature all smudged and ruined.
Well, they were doing all those rubbing puzzles on Uncharted
Exactly,
Golden
they're like-
Abyss.
The rubbing puzzles.
The rubbing
The light
puzzles.
one was the worst. I remember
Oh,
playing
God.
Golden Abyss on a plane. I had to turn my light on and hold it up to it. I'm like, come on.
And someone thought you had a bomb, probably. You're like, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get through this.
He did have a bomb.
The PlayStation Vita.
Yikes.
17 years of mistakes in one device.
Paul Grimkowski asks, if you had to reboot PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale for this console generation, which genre would you make it? So think about if
You're a shooter.
they try to go back to PlayStation All-Stars, but it wasn't a Smash Bros. clone.
You're a shooter. It'd be like Overwatch, but you have Nathan Drake running around the same universe, a game where you're playing as Nathan Drake first person, but you can shoot the Killzone man.
Yeah.
And then
Killzone man.
Parappa the Rappas is
Killzone Carl.
firing off some fat rhymes and stuff.
I
And, you know.
I really kind of want that.
That's what you want in
I mean,
Overwatch?
no,
with
a
PlayStation
little
guys,
bit. I
the
don't want to.
mascots?
I don't want to play a hero shooter or a MOBA.
Sure, nobody wants to play a MOBA.
No.
I want like a Mario Party.
Mario Party would be a good one in terms of let's make it make sense and not be nonsense.
Yeah,
then
and
at
have
the
a bunch
end-
of the mini games sort of crib a little bit from source
God,
material.
it's crazy that none of us make games professionally.
I know,
'cause
right?
We're so good.
I mean, I love kart racers. I still want more kart racers. I don't know if we
dude.
have enough this generation.
I keep saying I want Uncharted kart racing.
Yeah,
Uncarded.
right. I mean, that'd be great if Naughty
Don't
Dog
say
just totally
Uncharted. I don't
embraced
like you
it.
saying
Uncarded is also that mobile game with the cards.
No, Encarta was that weird encyclopedia.
Oh yeah, and I had Encarta.
Yeah.
My Sony Vio.
Yep.
Shout out to my Sony Vio.
I did. I had. I always tell the trip. I'll never forget. My mom bought a Sony Vio in 1996 for $3,200. That's how much computers cost back. Like a high-end computer cost back in the day.
Well, so Vio was they were the Apple of PCs at that point.
Yeah, yeah. They were. It was. I'll never forget. She bought we had the shitty computer. We bought this new computer. I was like, this is unbelievable. But I didn't know we had to mortgage our house to buy it.
My mom bought a Sony Vio 3 years ago, and I came home for Christmas to spend time with them, and she had taped a calendar to the front of it, and I was like, I got news for you. Your computer has a calendar on it. She was like, what? That's crazy.
That's unbelievable. I think fighting genre is good for PS All Stars, but I like when the leaks started happening for that game when it was still called Title Fight, or codename Title Fight.
Which I still like. I think I
I
like
like
that
the name
title.
Title
better.
Fight a lot.
Yeah, me too. it was zoomed in on Sweet Tooth, and it looked like it was going to be a 2D fighter, akin to like Injustice or something. And I think that probably would have worked out way better than them because
If it was just like a 1v1 fighting him, yeah.
So I mean, because I remember when that happened, and I wrote all this stuff about it. That I was like, this is clearly like this, but we didn't realize that it was just hyper zoomed in on the model.
Yeah.
And you guys did that. Sorry. You did that awesome character select screen of like everyone you would want to see. You guys did like a
yeah, we
joking one and a
photoshopped that,
serious
right?
one. Yeah. There was one that was like really good. That was like all the characters who like many of which ended up being in it, and there was one that was just like awful. It was just like 30 characters that would never be in a game like that.
That was one of my favorite Beyond bits when we were doing that, of like where we would pitch why this and Timmy O'Toole, the Sound Shapes blob. Ethan Mars was my favorite, where Ethan Mars' super would be that the screen just goes black when he gets his super, and it comes to and everyone's dead, and he's got the origami figure in his hand.
I like the idea of like the manic depressive square from Thomas Was Alone.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think none of us would have predicted that weird onion fennel cat from Japan. What's his name again?
Toro.
Ah, yes, the onion fennel cat, Japan's most beloved mascot.
I actually do think it would be kind of funny for them to go. Kind of funny, huh? It would be to go all
Beyond.
the way in the other direction, and I'd almost love to see them do like a Danganronpa style, like visual novel kind of game, where
Sure.
it's like you're in some weird mystery environment with all these characters, and like number one is figuring out why the hell they're there, and number two is like working together.
It's like
using
waiting
their
for
abilities.
Godot.
Actually,
Yeah.
like a sort of side-scrolling or top-down 3/4 Mario RPG type game, but
Sure.
with your party is made up of different PlayStation characters. That could be really cool.
That makes me unhappy. I don't know why.
Well, no one wants to play your hero shooter, loser.
What if it was third person, like Paragon?
Haraga, no. Jeremy Millar asks, if you could travel back in time to the point when you started / joined Podcast Beyond and tell yourself something, what would it be?
It'll be okay.
I think I would tell myself, will it? I mean, Max's, I guess yours was only like
That
a year
doesn't
and a half
count for me.
ago.
Yeah.
But
My
I mean,
immediate
I don't know.
first thought is like, leave early the day that Peppers has worms. I don't know. There was a day when my dog had worms, and like we'd given him the worm medicine, which is the most terrifying thing. What it does is the worms are all like, "What? Don't make that face at me, Zach." I'm a weird dude. What do you fucking want? All right. So the dog has worms. We get him. He's a little puppy, and the worm medicine, it makes the worms like, it like makes them go to sleep, so they relax their jaws, and then they just go in the poop and come out. It just looks like a goddamn Bloodborne boss.
Dude,
Like,
I'm sorry. If you get a time machine and you only go back in time a year, you're a fucking asshole.
it's like 18 months.
I can kill Hitler, I can invest in Apple,
Could
or I
stop
can
wars.
get these weird worms
It
out of
looked like
Pepper's
somebody
shit.
melted a Snickers on top of some spaghetti. It was awful.
What does that have to do with anything?
I was like hungover, and I had like an Uber outside, and he's like honking, and I'm like, Jen's like, "Can you get this? I'm dry heaving," and I'm like, "Ugh!" And I just like got to work, and I was like, fuck. So yeah, I'm not a good candidate for time travel. Is what I'm getting at here.
What?
Greg, you got something? What do you want to do back in 2007
In
or
the
whatever?
context of Beyond, I would travel back and tell myself to invite more people on. Damon and I used to always joke about it in GameScoop, where we would leave GameScoop and talk about how great that episode was, and wouldn't it be great if we got to do that full time? You know what I mean? Because for us, the podcasts were something that happened, and when Beyond got on the roll, it was just like, oh shit, time to go to Beyond. I know that I need to stop 30 minutes before and gather this. Colin's gathering that. We'd go in there, and then it would be like that last second. All right, do you want to be on? Do you want to be on? Who's free? Da da da. And I remember there was employee reviews or something at IGN, peer reviews, and one person wrote in and was like, I've noticed that none of these people get put on Beyond, myself included, and like that seems like you guys are ignoring us, da da da. And she said that, and I was like, oh, do you want to come on Beyond? And you're like, oh yeah, like it wasn't that we were playing favorites or anything. It was that like the real work, the hard
It was
work.
our fucking show.
The hard work, the things that you had to invest in and worry about were the reviews and up at noon and this, that, the other. Beyond is just like, Colin always talks about the first time we did Colin React Live. It was going live on Monday, and Sunday night he's like, should we talk about the show? And I was like, no, it'll be fine. Like, we just have this cadence, this thing where we sit down and go. We don't talk about what we're about to do. We just know.
Yeah.
And I took that for granted of like, it's just, this is something I do. I never thought other people wanted to be a part of it. I never thought that other people looked up to the show and wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we've sort of come into of like, we tend to do very little planning just because it's generally 4 people in that room who spend way too much time a week together, and so the conversation's fine. Like, no matter which 4 of us you put in there, it's fine because this is just an hour of the 50 hours of conversations we have all week.
Sure.
Which I think is, I don't know, something strange and interesting.
Is that when you guys started the rotating third chair thing?
Yeah, that was one of the reasons. Yeah, when Clements left, and then Goldfarb came on, and then Goldfarb left, and it was like I didn't want it to be another one. I think for a while you pushed for it to be one-on-one. You wanted it to be one-on-one.
Yeah, I thought I wanted it to be just Greg and I because I thought that would have been the stronger show. But that's what we do with PS I Love You. But
yeah.
But I don't know that that's necessarily true. That it was necessarily stronger, and what does that even mean anyway?
Right.
Sure. For us, for me, it was that I wanted to give that opportunity because I hadn't thought around, and that's when I instituted like the Google Doc that color coded everybody's names, so at a glance I could see like, oh shit, Megan hasn't been on it forever.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jared Petty hasn't been on 18 weeks. We should figure that out and fix it. But yeah, it was something.
No, I always loved when you guys did that because you'd be like, "Do you want to be on tomorrow?" And then you tweet it out, and all of a sudden be like, "Oh, this is like it's suddenly an event. It's
right.
a microcosmic event, but it's still a thing, and people are looking forward to it, and people are tweeting at me being like, "Oh, this episode's coming up," and yeah, it was super cool to see that happen.
Well, I just got so sick of people always asking for you to be on.
Yeah, what can we do?
You're not great.
Thanks.
Yeah. Welcome.
If I'm not great, what are you? If I'm a 6, honestly, you're 3, 4.
Damn.
No, I mean he's not wrong. Thanks,
Functional 5.
Lucky season.
Functional 5. Noah Johnson asks, Colin and Greg, you've had many wacky/zany moments on your own channel, and it leaves me wondering, what were some of your craziest IGN moments?
Oh man, I mean, what immediately jumps to mind is the night we bonded. I've told the story of like when Colin first came out to karaoke and Hillary was like, "Oh, I hate Colin," and I was like, "Why?" He's like, "He's a douchebag." And then
We're referring to Hillary as in Hillary Rodham Clinton.
yeah, of course.
The woman who refuses to go to prison for breaking the
Oh,
law.
right. Well, we went to
Maybe you
Denny's.
guys would get along if you weren't making all these hot memes.
We went to Denny's. It was totally a moment of like, I told Colin like, "Oh, Hillary hated you," and he's like, "No, he deserved to hate me. I sucked." But there was you jump to the next E3 we were all working at, and this is when. Like we always talk about the divide between video and editorial. This was the divide between sales and editorial and video.
Right.
Where our war room that year backed up to curtains, and on the other side was this ballin' ass IGN party that we weren't invited to. And so, when we were done writing at 2:33 in the morning, we broke through the wall and took the booze that Dunham had given all of us over there and drank. And there is a distinct memory, it's foggy, of Colin and I at a giant round table. Like I'm talking like the Watchtower Justice League table, right? With the old IGN logo in it. You know what I mean? The slanted thing, the D-pad with the swoosh around it.
Yep.
And we were sitting there, and at this point, we've taken our shirts off, and this is before this was a thing with me. We've taken our shirts off, both of us, and we have dumped out the centerpiece and poured bourbon into it. And we are passing this giant bowl around, drinking, and it's just down to him and I at this point. And he started talking about how much he loved IGN. I'm like, I love IGN. We started pounding on the logo on this table of like, when I'm EIC of PlayStation, you're EIC of Gods, we're going to get this tattooed. And, and it was like, shit.
Thank God we didn't do that.
That's when I realized that we were cut from the exact same
You can always
cloth.
put like a little smirk on it. It'd be fine.
No, it'll be fine. No, I wouldn't regret that if I had
No,
that.
that's what I was talking about. I for a long time thought about getting this D-pad on this wrist, and then I would have gotten the kind of funny logo on this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that was the moment where I realized Colin and I always go back to it. There's a blog post I put up on my blog at IGN that was like 20 questions or some shit like that. And I think it starts with or ends with like, we need to hang out more. Never knowing our lives would be intrinsically
And now you're just
tied.
like, we should probably hang out a little
Exactly.
bit less.
Like, now we are like the
Not knowing we want to kill each other.
Yeah.
85-year-old married couple with my rollers in the hair.
Yeah, I think that, I remember that moment. That was a good moment. That was 2008. That's when we still had a crazy fucking war room in like the middle of the hotel and,
Right.
and like cater. It was like super catered and super awesome. I don't know. I think a lot of our crazy moments like happened. Like Greg and I traveled a lot together, and so I think that a lot of just really random shit happens when you're just on the road with a person and
Like New York Comic Con,
which one?
where we came back and we had a few.
Oh, right. So I I was like getting
You guys
undressed.
hook up?
Yeah,
That's where this is going.
Yeah, we fucked.
I'm gonna
We
cut
totally
through
fucked.
the tension in the room with it.
No, it was just funny. So you know how like on in some hotels, like on a floor of a hotel or on multiple floors of a hotel, they have like the little computer nook where like you can go and like
Bring your boarding pass.
bring your
Yeah.
boarding pass or go online.
Yeah,
check in
yeah,
order.
yeah.
So like it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I was like already getting undressed, and I was like in my like I don't know underwear, shorts.
You were in your jeans and your shorts, but your pants were off and your shoes and socks were off.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, we gotta
Wait,
sleep
you were
like a
in
farmer.
your jeans?
No, he
and your
was
shorts,
stripping down.
but
He
your
was stripping
pants were
down.
off?
I realized
Awesome.
halfway through getting undressed that I like let's get print our boarding passes out. So I just went into the hallway.
And I'm like, no, we can't go. And he's like, who's gonna be in the hallway? Who's gonna be the boarding pass station at 3 a.m.?
So I just walk around and I walk into this little nook and there's like a Greek couple that like doesn't speak English or whatever, like looking at me, and I just like crouch down next to them.
He
and
doesn't
like,
even use the chair because they're using the other chair. So he's just crouched.
and there's a picture of it that's like one of the only people, because I have Moriarty tattooed in letters on my back.
Yeah.
Which is like a tattoo I got when I was 18. I don't necessarily regret it, but I'm like, I don't know why I did that.
Sometimes you
So-
forget your last name. And
So I have this like huge, it's just this Moriarty on my back, and so I think that's the only picture, like really, like real picture of it, because there's a picture
But
of me
there's
back.
like the one candid photo I took where he's working, and then there's the other one where he turns around, he's got this like drunk grin. Yeah, like just so happy.
you probably look like you were printing Lollapalooza tickets.
It's printed my 311, my corn tickets. So yeah, so I don't know, a lot of fun stuff. I mean, there's a lot of funny moments. I think there's a lot of moments on the podcast, a lot of like memorable moments as well. But I think a lot of it's in the minutia when you work there, as long as we did. Like,
Sure.
it kind of just all blurs together.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you take for granted that you spend 10 hours a day with literally some of your favorite people in the world.
Yeah.
And like very few jobs you're able to do that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I see. I like sometimes lose the forest for the trees and like lose context when I get like, and I do like when I get upset or I get like angry or whatever. Where I'm like, I'm like, this sucks. Like I don't like. What am I doing? You know, like for whatever reason it is, like whatever I'm even talking about. And then I remember like Colin, like you were dragged out of like grad school to like play video games. Like shut the fuck up. Yeah. You know, like there are people at like, and you like really like I really do lose like sight of that sometimes.
Sure. Right.
And then like you don't, and then like someone texts you tweets you and is like, I really enjoyed your podcast. I work at, this shitty fucking job I hate. And like and I'm like, well, I'm glad I'm there for you, and that gives me the context I need. And unfortunately, because I'm mentally weak in that way, I like need that reminder. I just get that reminder a lot. So
That's what it
not
comes
mentally
back
weak.
to.
We all
Like
need it.
why this works, why the relationship works, and why it matters and what we do matters is the fact that we are lucky enough, when even now, but I mean when we were at IGN, of like when somebody got hired at IGN, I always talked about we were cats and you bring in the new cat and y'all hiss at the new cat for a day. I remember when Nick Colin came in, I'm like, this kid annoys the shit out of me. I hate Nick Colin. And then there was like a day where I was like, I love Nick Colin. Nick Colin's he was one of the cats. You know what I mean? Like you're accepted and you share the same interests. Whereas like with the people, I always talk about it like. People are like, oh, you don't know my story. Somebody said this to me at RTX. Like, it's so weird to meet you for the first time. You mean so much to me. That you are a best friend to me, but you don't know me. And I'm like, but I do. Like, I know that you listen to us while you walk your dog, or while you do Excel sheets at some job you hate, or while you drive to the next business. You know what I mean? Like, there's like strata that everybody falls into, and you understand that not everybody gets to hang out with.
Right.
Yeah.
32 of their best friends who do the exact same thing they do.
No, I mean, you guys are right that it's incredibly easy to lose track of that. There have been many times, in interest of honesty, over like the last 7 years where I'm like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I mean, I always know I can, but there are times when you're like, I'm tired. I feel like I'm burning out. I feel like it's not like, who am I really reaching? Like, am I just doing this for myself? Am I doing it for the audience? And the honesty is that it's a combination of all of those things coming together in synchronicity that makes it feel like you're reaching people. And I think actually, like, I look back at the way people did it in the magazine era, and I'm kind of like, when I first started the job, I was like, man, those guys had it made. Because they would go to E3, and they didn't have to write anything for like a month and a half. Like, E3, it was last year, and we had a really good time. It'd be like their September issue. You'd be like, get it together, EGM. But nowadays, I mean, like, back then, I guess they had to get a letter in the mail, or the envelope art that had like a weird drawing of Mario doing something horrible to Peach, and you're like, why am I reading this? Nowadays,
what magazine were you reading?
What magazines did I send envelope art to?
Nintendo
That's the
Power.
question you should be asking. Yeah,
course.
Nintendo Power all the time.
I
But
used to send the
nowadays,
worst to
you
them.
do get that instant sort of gratification of
Right.
being like, this is somebody that heard something I said today and it resonated with them, or they didn't like it. And now like we talked a lot before about haters and stuff like that. Sometimes the haters are right. Like, Greg, you always say people throw rocks at things that shine.
Stole from Taylor Swift.
People also throw rocks at things that suck.
Yeah.
So I think overall the rock throwing mechanism is not a very smart system.
No, I mean, it's what we always talk about with there's the vocal minority. Or I'm sorry, that's reflected. I'm drunk. I'm already drunk.
It's fine.
But the vocal minority. I got it right. And then the silent majority,
Yes.
right? And the silent majority reads your article, consumes your video, and bounces and goes about their life. And then there are these vocal people that pop up to want to be jerks about it.
Yeah.
And that's why when we started Kind of Funny, right, it was able to finally take it and be like, all right, cool. We're not accepting assholes. We only want cool people. And to see them embrace that and start this, they do this thing on their own now called #PS We Love You. And it's
That's incredible.
It's not an
That is
advertisement
one
for the
of my favorite
website.
things I've ever
It's
seen.
just that every week they're like, all right, today we're going to thank this person, this developer, and this journalist, and go out and do something.
Yeah, and this is where the context I think is important. Like if you just read a thread about you on NeoGAF, or you just like read a comment that was upvoted 10 times on YouTube about how you suck, like you would think that was everything, but it's really not. Like I think recently, like some guy I remember wrote on NeoGAF, like he hated me for some reason. He's like, if I see him at E3, I'm gonna go up to him and tell him like what's up or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I fucking bet you will.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to like lose you like. That's the thing I try to remember is like the interpersonal. I'm gonna probably be fucking assassinated now, but the interpersonal relationships.
Oh, you're the guy who's
I
gonna die.
don't
in
have a
10
deep
years.
bench.
The interpersonal relation or the interpersonal interactions I've had with people over the years, over the decade or whatever, has been really like there's been a few weird ones, but nothing bad.
Yeah.
Like everyone's for the most part very nice, very gracious. They like what you do, and you have to like keep in mind like. And then you look at YouTube and you look at that upvoted comment on a PS I Love You that listened to 100,000 times on YouTube, and someone's like, Colin fucking sucks. There's only talk about upvoted 25 times. Then you look at the views. Then you look at the like to dislike ratio, and there's 25 dislikes in the entire video. Then you look at like the hundreds of thousands of people that downloaded the podcast. Then you look at your like how well the Patrons are doing, all these kinds of things. And this is what you need. This is what you need for context. This is like where this is like I'm a veteran at this, and like I still lose. And I kind of lose sight of that too, where I'm like, I always looked around, I'm like, oh, these guys like have done this more than me and all this stuff. I'm like, no, like, and I'm not talking about people here. I'm talking about like just random people. I'm like, oh, this guy works here. I'm like, actually, no, like I'm like almost as OG as it gets in this industry now.
Yeah, for sure.
And to me, it's like, but I still lose sight of that. And I don't let it always roll off my back like water on a duck or whatever. Like I like.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
The water
Duck
off the
water?
duck's
Yeah,
back,
the
yeah.
ducks hate water.
Their feathers like let the
what they
water
say.
Water
water.
resistance, it rolls straight
Vote
up.
with your wallet, speak with your rocks, and water goes under the bridge, and so do ducks.
Yep.
And the water sometimes gets on top of
Indeed.
the ducks,
Max
and
is
then
nailing it right now.
burn that bridge down, motherfucker.
You understand?
No.
I get it.
So anyway, what I'm saying is like I try to like keep like people often say like it's hard to do it actually sometimes, but to resist on Twitter like positive, negative. And I see all these positive tweets and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking go at you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
And you
I'm
reply
gonna
to
make
that one, right?
Yeah, and I make an
Yeah.
example of them, and then I look back and someone invariably always tweets like, "But we like you didn't even acknowledge my."
I know.
And I'm like, "You're fucking
Yeah.
right.
You're right.
And that-
Yeah.
I'm like, it's incredible how often I need these same tired reminders because I'm just not that sharp."
Yeah, I remember,
You know?
Greg, when you had that, like you called some dude out, and someone replied, and they were like, "Well, why do you give attention to the people being mean, and not to the hundreds of people being nice?" And I remember that kind of changing my outlook on it because, like, yeah, that's really smart. Like, because ultimately, like, people lash out for attention. Like, really, they want that. They want you to call them out. They want you to burn
Notice
them,
them,
or reply
acknowledge
or
them.
whatever
I was
it
like
is,
joking
yeah.
about this the other day, but like, cops don't exist to like pull people over and tell them doing a great job driving safely. Like they don't. You know how fast you were going? The speed limit. Perfect. Great job.
Let me give you a
Carry
smiley
on.
face sticker and I'll see you later.
Yeah, like they don't do that. They're like, sir, you're high on PCP. Just fought that fence butt naked. Like, I'm gonna have to shoot you right now. Like there's no like, I don't know. Like, I guess firemen will go and do like, they'll do like cookouts, which is sort of like the benevolent use of fire. But they're like trying to buy a new ambulance. Like,
No,
but
I
like
mean,
yeah.
Not
that
even
was
an animal.
when it happened to me the first time where somebody said that to what Goldfarb's saying. Like, it did change me to where I try to be positive and I try to respond and I try to mute. But there's always that one person that I do retweet and quote tweet something funny to. But it's like,
Yeah.
that's the whole thing is like where I try to change it is like I want to be positive and I want the majority to be positive. And I know it's hard to do because so many people don't think that way. But like the other day, like I tweeted something about like, I don't even remember. Like, I was having a bad day, and Taylor Swift came on the radio, and I liked it. And I tweeted that out, and somebody's like, "Oh, I guess even verified people will try to tweet to get retweeted." And I called, and I didn't quote tweet him or anything. Tweeted back at this person. I was just like, "Hey, no." And I linked him to a video we had done. I think it was a Greg way. I think it's ancient, but like where like my New Year's resolution was to try to be more thankful to people on the internet. Like, there's nothing wrong about that. I'm not fishing for a retweet because the one thing I always say is you lose sight of it because even when people talk to us and they're like, "Well, why would you tweet out the bad stuff, right, or respond to the bad stuff?" That goes all the way up to a Taylor Swift, where when all they see is negative stuff, they get downbeaten by that.
Yeah, your
but
Jenna Fisher thing was actually a big weird awakening for me because it's like a
What's
weird.
the Jennifer Fisher thing?
He was watching what movie? The ice skating movie.
No, I was watching The Office. Just
Oh,
straight
it's
up
an episode of The Office. Oh, gotcha. He was watching The Office and he tweeted something about I don't know. You tell the story.
So if I'm thinking about the same
Thank
one,
you.
if I'm thinking of the same one, it's when I had a turning point where I started to tweet something negative about The Office.
Right.
And Christine saw me getting ready to tweet it and was like, "Yeah, you're right." And then I started deleting it, and she's like, "Why are you deleting it?" I'm like, "They're just like us. They make content and they put it out, and it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And if I tweet out right now, I think it was like at NBC needs to take at The Office out back and shoot it. Like I'm no better than the people who are mean to us, and just because they're making however much money they're making,
It's
they're on
also
a network show.
like inferring that that any of us would be fair weather for something bigger than us just to like get the likes or clicks or followers or something like that undermines the amount of time that we are ride or die for complete failures or things that bomb or
What a
like
Vita.
or things that like
Nashville.
no one really knows about.
Yeah, Nashville's coming
Nashville,
back.
the
We're fine.
Vita,
We're fine.
like Patapon was something you guys yelled about for years. Which
Sure.
if you yelled that on the street, people would be like, "What's wrong with that man?" You know, there's a lot of stuff. You think about like somebody like Dave Fennoy, who you shouted at the end of every Up at Noon forever, and then did all the intros for Kind of Funny Live 1 and 2. Who's been friends of our shows for years now. Like he wasn't really a household name, but you just kept repeating it until people were just kind of like, "What's up with this guy? Oh, I'm gonna go to his website and buy his
And
shirts
then
and
you're
his
like, oh, it
mugs."
turns out he's incredibly talented.
Yeah, it was awesome, and he's an awesome dude. So shout out to Dave Fennoy.
Yeah, paying it forward is a big part of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what's fascinating and interesting about it, and what the weird world we live in, and then how it crosses over. Like you guys mentioned Cisco, and the fact that like
That's
at
the
Con-
weirdest goddamn thing.
at
That's
Con-
the weirdest.
At Kind of
I
Funny
like-
for Kind of Funny Live too, when we were planning it, Tim's like, "We're gonna do a lip sync battle at the end." I'm like, "That's kind of dumb." And he's like, "But I want the whole reason is to bring Cisco out." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that'll be fine." But I was way more excited about Jack Trenton doing intro videos and da da da
Right.
because to me, Cisco is my friend who texts me about video games and we
I
talk
hate
about
you.
things. And, sorry, but then like
Cisco
when I got
texted
home
me.
that night and I poured a beer and I looked at all the reaction was like, "What the fuck is Cisco
mean,
doing?"
we
I'm like,
literally-
"Oh right, people don't think that Cisco is like
Right
our
after
friend."
he sang the Pokemon theme song, like we were like, this is surreal. And we were in this bar. We came here and I was like, they were like, how was the event you went to? I'm like, Cisco just sang the Pokemon theme song. I don't know what happened. Like it's
Yeah.
inexplicable.
I had a couple things I wanted to say. One, in regards to the whole negativity thing on the internet, like there's that old expression, like you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Not actually true. If you put some dish soap and vinegar, like it'll get rid of a fruit fly problem. Like it's actually like that's a complete fucking. No, seriously, you keep doing this sarcastic
facts.
thumbs up, Zach. Fuck off.
Zach, you do you. Zach, you do you.
But no, like
You can also do it with red wine, which you can drink and get drunk off of.
But
which
then
is
it's
a
got
good thing
bugs
to
all
have.
over
Yeah, wait, aren't the bugs going
I
to
mean,
be
if
in
you're gonna
wine?
waste the red
You have
wine,
a little
then
bit of wine left in
just
your
you
glass.
can use lots of things, but the point is that the flies will be attracted to all sorts of shit. In the same way that, like, you know, if there's a horrible traffic jam, it's probably because somebody crashed their car and everyone's slowing down to be like, is there fucking blood? Is there blood there? I want to look at it. You know, like nobody's ever like, oh, the sunset looks lovely. Let's slow down and look at it more closely.
Sure.
Like it's always
Yeah.
people are driven and attracted to negative stuff, and it sucks. But I love that you guys are like championing like
Positivity.
appreciate things,
Yeah.
enjoy things.
Give an
It's-
arbitrary shout out.
it's good.
Doing a good job.
Second to that, I want to add that you know the whole thing with The Office too. Like like I catch myself being like, maybe I should just talk about stuff I like on the internet as opposed to being like, fuck this thing. But the one exception is Jeremy Renner, who can just eat my entire ass.
Why?
He's just a dad. He's like a 21st century Kevin Costner.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
He's like, I'm sure he's great in baseball movies, but he's never been in them.
Because they don't make them anymore.
Isn't it you catch more bees with honey than vinegar?
No.
Isn't that,
No,
it's
it's flies.
Bees make honey. Why would they be caught by it?
That's a fair point.
They're going home. When the bees are going to the honey, they're going home.
Take off your
that
shirt,
was
you
the
beautiful
only
idiot.
Ironic way to die.
I made this.
That was the only thing that could have taken me more aback than your I'm gonna die on the Jeremy Renner hill.
But I just want to be clear to what Max said too. Like we try, but I mean I can't speak for Ray, but I fail all the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like all the time,
Yep.
all the time. I'm better,
Sure.
but I am not where I need to be.
Where do you stand on Jeremy Renner?
I don't know. I have to think about it. I don't want to just render a verdict like just. like
Renner
You don't want to render a verdict?
I guess we ran this joke into the ground.
Yep. Adrian Weekly asks, I'm going to get straight to the point. What's the best PlayStation console?
Can we say
Just
2 or
say
4?
a number.
it's like Star Trek movies?
Yeah.
So I think we need some qualifiers on this because, like, we're getting to the point where the PS4 is getting it's got almost half of the best PS3 games remastered in HD. It's got it's true. It's got a bunch of downloadable games. It's got a bunch of old PSN games and stuff like that. Does that count? Because if you're forward thinking, the PS4 technically it has Journey, it has The Last of Us,
native games.
So native exclusively to that console. Okay,
Well,
fine.
PS4 is awesome. You can play a lot of games online. You take that back to 1997. What do you do with it? You know, like the fact that like everything scales, everything's different. Like each system has had like a different focus.
So based on the time period as well, like how great is it for its time?
I mean, I think PS2.
No, the correct answer is PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
Really? We talk about this all the time. I think PS2 is the worst of the four. And the
what?
Like when you and I know it's not a popular thing, and it's certainly not popular numerically. 150 million PS2s sold is no joke, although a lot of them were sold. And at DVD players, a lot of them sold were emerging markets long after the PS2 was dead. But
then there was the disc read eras where people had to buy 4 or 5.
the PS2 was really a workhorse of how electronics worked for really long periods of time. But I think the PS1 is a super special console for a lot of things I grew up playing, like JRPGs and stuff.
I love that it's shaped like a giant middle finger to Nintendo.
Yeah. Yes.
You push that button.
It's very slowly. And I actually think PS3 is like an extraordinary console. Like it would be between PS3 and PS1 for me as the best PlayStation console. I think 4 has the potential. I think 2. When I think back at 2, there's a problem is because the PlayStation 2 era was the first era where I had everything at once. So like, because I had the money to do that, right?
Yeah.
So like in the PS1 era, I had my PS1, and then later I had my N64. Well, I had them really kind of both, I guess, at the same time. But I didn't have a Saturn, and I had a Dreamcast later on. But when a PS2 came out, I had a PS2 the day it came out. Got an Xbox in 2003, but I got a GameCube the day it came out. Yeah. And I think my view was like totally scattered at that point. So I didn't play everything the best that PS2 had to offer. But when I look back at the PS2, I'm like, I don't see what's amazing about this catalog that the PS1 or the PS3 doesn't show.
You also don't like Shadow of the Colossus.
It's
right?
interesting.
I think it's significantly overrated.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean,
I know that word sucks, but it's true.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. In a lot of ways, I mean, it is one of the like first-ish open world games of its type that is completely empty. Like it's a sandbox with no sand. But I think it's interesting that you bring up
a box,
the PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, and that you isolate the PS1 and the PS3 because I feel like, or specifically as your favorites, because I feel like those were the eras where Sony had to work the hardest to either win people over or win people back. And the PS2 and the PS4, they're kind of just like, hey, we knocked this out the park. Everything's going well for us. Third parties are just crushing it for us right now. But they had to fight a lot for third-party support, specifically on the PS3, which I think a lot of multi-platform games were having at the time, but Microsoft was kind of the ones to beat.
Well, I think what people lose sight of is that because 360 came out a year earlier, in 2005 than PS3, that a lot of early what you would look at as third-party games were not on PS3 at all. Like BioShock was not on PS3 until over a year after it came out on 360. The third-party
like Skyrim and stuff like that.
Yeah, Skyrim just didn't run on PS3. So there was exactly. There was a lot of things like working against PlayStation 3 in the beginning. But I just look back at the catalog. The PSN's like a fucking garbage fire. Everyone knows that. But like, there's a lot of great games. Like the best digital 360 started the trend of having great games, but PSN's PS3 games are way better than Xbox 360's Xbox Live games at the end of the day. Like there's probably 5 or 6 PSN games that are better than everything on Xbox 360.
No, Summer of Arcade shit like Braid and Limbo.
But those games came out.
Those games did come eventually, yeah. Whereas like Journey never made it. Yeah.
Are you looking? If you're just looking at exclusives,
like Shadow Complex is the only one where I'm like, of the Journey, Unfinished Swan, Sound Shapes, like that, like. Yep. Magic Orbs, of course.
And that all took a while, too.
It's a brick-breaking game.
And it was awesome.
Yeah, that all took a while. But, I mean, there was Summer of Arcade, and for a while I was like, where's Sony's answer to this? Yeah. And then they started just consistently hitting with original, like, weird. It was like their weird art house brand. And to see all that stuff happening along the same time as, like, AAA console games, everyone's fighting over exclusives. And they're like, well, what if there was also, like, this weird game about a desert from Genova Chen. Like, oh, yeah, I'll take that. And it ended up being IGN's Game of the Year that year. It beat out pretty much every
Walking Dead, Halo 4, Dishonored.
Some of the biggest games that year, some of the biggest franchises, IPs of that year.
Yeah.
And like this weird 2-hour-long game came out of nowhere.
I mean, the PS3 is such a weird console. Like as a machine, it's such a bizarre kind of outlier. I had it explained to me once that it's like the Xbox 360 is like, it's like a classroom full of like kind of C+ average students. and the PlayStation 3 is like 5 incredibly smart autistic kids. And like you have to go to each one of them individually and be like, all right, you have a particular set of skills, like you've got stuff you're really good at. You know, it's like a savant mentality, you know. And whereas like the 360s, like you can throw like Skyrim on it. It's like, yeah, it works because it's sort of a PC under there. But you know, the PS3 was ahead of its time. It was like they were like, yeah, HD, Blu-ray, let's see this happen, and nobody was ready for it.
You're specifically talking about developing for it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I just to clear the air, it made it sound like that's just what the system is. It's like 5 weird kids in a room.
It's the whole cell processor thing. But like, I love that Sony was like trying that, but it totally goes into their like kind of the roll of the dice history they have as a company of like doing proprietary stuff. They were the first company to develop silicon chips, or was it silicon chips? It was what do you call it? Transistors for their radios. Like they bought the patent from Texas Instruments in like the 1950s, and they were like, "Hey, that's a really cool thing you made. Can we not pay you to make it yourselves, but buy the rights to make it and do it ourselves?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure. What could go wrong?" And that's why I end up with expensive memory cards for the Vita, because sometimes it works out, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't know. I think that the PS3 is fascinating as a product, but as a gaming system, it's sort of like kind of bittersweet.
Yeah, it's an interesting console. Like you learn a lot about it too. Like it was supposed to come out a year earlier than it did. You know, they had problems with it. I learned a lot about that talking to the ICE team, which is housed at Naughty Dog, who are like the internal guys that kind of craft the hardware or whatever. But like when you have complicated hardware like that, and then a team spends time on it, like Naughty Dog, and they make 4 games for it. Well, the 4th game is The Last of Us, and frankly, that game wouldn't have been possible, I don't think, on Xbox 360. So it's like, anyway, the PS3, I think the PS3 is really special. The thing about all 6 pieces of hardware from Sony is that like they're all actually really great. Like and I mean that in as objective way as possible. Like when I look at, you know, I'm a what I call a reformed Nintendo fanboy now. Like I'm just so fucking over Nintendo, it's not even funny. But when I was a kid, the NES is still my favorite console of all time. Like it's never gonna be touched. And the SNES is this behemoth of a console. Yeah. But from my perspective, when you get to, and I loved GameCube as well, but when you get to the N64 and GameCube, like I'm just like, yeah, these have some great games, but these consoles kind of like suck. I have to be like honest with you, like that, like GameCube. I had a bajillion GameCube games, and I pretended I loved that thing forever, like more than anything in this world. But when you really look back at it, it's like this thing is like not that impressive. Like these 2 consoles are clearly inferior to the NES and SNES in every way, and maybe not technically, but in terms of games, in terms of output, in terms of memories. Well, and to me, like I don't feel that way with PlayStation. Like I think you could make a case for PS1, you could make a case very easily for PS2, PS3, and I think, as Altano said, you can make a case for PS4 now as well.
And PSP.
And PSP
it's
and
just
Vita.
Nuts to think there was a point where like the idea of optical media was like a novelty, like that they were like, yeah, CDs, little round things that you can listen to your favorite music on, like 311, the hottest 90s
you
band.
gotta have the Beatles of rap rock.
Yeah, but you know, like
The Beatles of rap
I
rock.
think Zach is having an aneurysm. He's weeping softly.
That's a John Oliver quote. From
Lord.
But
yeah, I mean, like the fact that Nintendo was like, they were still making toys, and they still kind of are.
Yep.
And it's weird that you've got this kind of video games are this crossover of toys and like electronics, and I mean, it's like so. Somebody who worked with Esme saw Chappie, and she's like, that movie was stupid, and I was like, really? How come? And she's like, there's this part where they hook a bunch of PS4s together and they use it to like hack stuff, and I'm like, that's not stupid. That's actually something NASA did with PS3s. Like, I think it's like the 7th largest like supercomputer server farm cell or something is like a bunch of PS3s hooked up.
Yeah, and I think the government bought back on PS2.
Like
bought a bunch of shit.
What the
PS2s
fuck? What the fuck? There's a room full of PS3s somewhere that's powering like NASA stuff. That's bonkers. So yeah, like as a game console, you know, bittersweet. But as a thing that you can hook a bunch of them up together and make space math.
I heard a rumor we never went to space, that it was the Stanley Kubrick film.
I've heard that as well.
Yeah, you've heard that.
I think it's unconfirmed, but I've heard it.
I mean that's what a rumor is. Do you did tweets?
Oh, I did do tweets.
Do we have any hot tweets to talk about?
Let's see if I have any hot tweets. Go for it, Phil.
While Greg looks it up, I wanted to say real quick, one of the things I really loved about the PS3 was how they started off incredibly cocky and then kind of fumbled with the price point and everything like that, and then held back and then ramped up to getting cocky again with Kevin Butler, who's one of it was so 90s of them to come out with that and be like, hey, here's this guy who's kind of an asshole, but he's lovable, and he's going to tell everybody in the room, like, you're an idiot for not doing this right, and your mom's weird, but she loves me, and all your friends are coming over to play Mag or whatever it was.
Who was the
No
Vita,
one's friends with
who was
him.
the
Action.
Massive action
kid
game.
Vita? There was a
Marcus.
Marcus.
PSP, get your game on.
Oh,
Yep.
that was the kid from that one movie with Sean William Scott.
Yes.
Role Models.
Yep.
Wow, we got there.
Surprisingly good film. I enjoyed that
Yeah.
boy's role in
You
it.
got me over there.
Talks about
Thanks, Kevin.
boobies and stuff.
Tommy Adams says, "Do you think Gravity Rush 2 will make it out in 2016?" Yes. 100%.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they were on our live show at E3, and that game looks great and looks pretty damn close to being done.
It'll be this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it runs a little chuggish. Like
Welcome to
the
Gravity
game's
Rush.
like
Chuggish.
stunning and gorgeous, but it's a little chuggies.
Yeah, I'm surprised how little. I mean, like E3 wasn't the place for it. It didn't need to be on stage. I think it would have been distracting and gotten overshadowed. But they I guess maybe TGS or something. Like they need a big push for that game
Yeah.
if it's out this year. I think it'll get it. But and yeah, the E3 demo definitely chugged a little bit though. So I hope they fix performance.
I kind of wish the first one hadn't been the Vita game. Like,
You would say that.
no, I mean, like I loved it on.
You're
Vita,
off
but it
the
was also
island.
just- it didn't really establish itself as a franchise.
Sure, 100%.
Yeah,
No, that's
remaster's
100%.
great. Yeah.
Kevin is awesome. 123 says, "When will Marty's review of Duck Dynasty post?"
Isn't that going to be our first Let's Play on the Beyond YouTube channel?
No, Andrew and I did our first Let's Play, and it was
It wasn't Duck Dynasty.
Adventures of Mana. You have some thoughts about that.
I saw Duck Dynasty was on sale on Steam today, and a bunch of people were tweeting at you, being
Yeah.
like, "I want to buy this, but I can't do it without Marty's
I'm
review."
gonna finally review that game.
How
Yep.
did you with Adventures of Mana? Did you guys capture their PSTV?
Yes.
Yeah, we did PSTV, and now I'm like an hour and a half past where we got.
Yeah, so that game, for people that don't know, stealth release, cheap remake of Seiken Densetsu, Final Fantasy Adventure, game-breaking bugs
Really?
in that game.
Was that the one you got stuck in
Yeah.
the other day? You were tweeting
Oh,
about?
then you said like I cannot leave this
Yeah,
room.
and then we figured. My girlfriend actually figured it out, which is funny. She doesn't even play games, and she figured it out, so that was a nice moment for me. But then there's apparently a bunch of game-breaking bugs in the original one. I had the original one. I don't remember any of these on the Game Boy. It was published by Squaresoft, and then Sunsoft republished it. And they just apparently remade it, and all of these
And they were like, why fix
there's
it?
design flaws that are based on like the limitation of RAM on the Game Boy. So like when you would unlock a door or use a Matic to like get through a wall and go a few screens away from it, it didn't remember that you busted down the wall or used a key on the door. So you can get caught. In the new one on the Vita, I mean, the Vita is not the most powerful machine, but it can remember that you unlocked the door. So like
Spared no expense.
so I used my last key to get through this door, and then I went to this other locked door on the other side of the castle, and it was locked. And then I went back, and the other door was locked, and you're stuck.
Yep.
And there's apparently moments like that all throughout the game. Like you have to like have like a bunch of this shit in your inventory at all
It
times.
also has the most startling, just random, arbitrary death.
Yeah,
5 minutes in the game.
Like 1 second into that game, you fight a big scary cat monster, and then 10 seconds after that, your friend is dead on the ground, and you're
You're just like,
leaning
oh
over his
dang, and then
body.
you go on an adventure. I'm like, what happened here?
Spoilers, I mean, 'cause I don't even know what the hell's going on in that game, so it doesn't matter. You like fight this Medusa creature,
Nice.
and then the woman you're with at the time gets like shot by like one of the snakes or whatever, and she's turning into a gorgon or whatever, and she asks you to kill her, and then you have to just walk up to her and hit X, and you slash her, and she falls to the ground, and then you talk to her, and she gives you her tears or something like that.
Video games.
Yeah.
It's so
Do a dumb thing.
it's so
Greg, did you have
ridiculous.
another question? Or
I have hundreds.
okay, because I had one I want to throw in whenever you're ready.
All right, this is what we talked about our favorite Beyond moments in bits. Sam Stoner writes in and says, "Will Garfep ever find true love?" Now, this, of course, we brought you a girl once.
Yeah,
A girl
I
wanted
went
to
on 2
date
dates
you.
with that girl,
We
yeah.
surprised. What was that?
I went on 2 dates with that girl.
Yeah.
She was nice. Yeah, I haven't talked to her since then.
That was so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was one of the weirdest things we'd ever done, and that really says something.
My favorite part of that clip is when we leave the room and each look at each other and just shake hands.
Well, that was the best. That was Casey Lynch days, right? And we went to him like, "Hey, Casey, this girl wants." We said in last week's episode we need to find Garfep a girlfriend, and now one has responded. Do you mind if he takes the afternoon off? And he's like, "No big deal."
I was terrified to leave work. I was
Why?
like checking email off my phone. I don't know. I know how to stop working.
Side note: I think the only thing sadder than going on one date with someone is going on 2 dates with someone. Like, let me make
I like
sure.
you enough
No,
for
I was
one
right.
more.
No.
Nope. I was wrong about that. Yep. Jace Play Games says greatest PlayStation 1 game of all time. He says Tomba.
Ooh.
I say
Tombo's incredible.
I say Metal Gear Solid.
I say Symphony of the Night.
Yep, that was mine too. I actually wrote a list of games per console. I thought we were going to go through those today. My two were Symphony of the Night and Resident Evil 2.
Symphony of the Night is a very strong call, one of the great
Yeah.
games of all time. I would say Wild Arms. It's the best
Ooh,
PS1.
yeah, it's a really good one.
Love that game.
Those weird Japanese cowboy boys?
Yeah, that's right. Media Vision, published by Sony.
Just
Zach,
you can
Zach,
yell.
is
Vagrant
contractually
Story.
obligated to bring up Vagrant Story whenever possible.
It's a good game.
Do you guys like does when you do this with Kevin? Does Kevin yell into the room or did?
Yeah, he knows the mics won't pick him up.
Right,
so
but he
it's
just does it
well, I'll just
anyway?
talk.
Yeah,
But, like,
Zach,
he's
you-
whispering up
Kevin's
there.
the world's biggest distraction.
I want
by
to
the
see
way.
movies that Zach shoots, and he's just like, it's a trap. Don't do it. Don't go in there. No. He's coming up the stairs. Just don't.
Spoiling the film.
And there's just like thumbs up coming in.
Yeah.
You know, the hero and the romantic lead kiss, and there's like a thumbs up.
He gets a weird haircut
Villain
halfway
shows
through
up.
that
He's
I-
like,
I'm
no,
undecided
we're
on.
bad.
Greg.
That's weird.
Oh,
Thanks
there's
for watching,
definitely
everybody.
There's definitely
Two
that
black
moment in the
balls
show.
in your face. Look at it.
I'm used to that.
Look at that
Ryan
funny
Trevor
walrus, man.
says, in honor of Summer Games Done Quick, if Marty had to speedrun Battletoads or Duck Dynasty, which would he choose?
I played through the entirety of Battletoads when I reviewed Rare Replay. So
What?
I played.
Oh,
but I
with
hit-
like with cheats on and save states.
So he played through it because he loves it.
no one.
He
no.
loves Battletoads.
Photographic evidence.
No.
I feel like Duck Dynasty you can finish in like 3.5 hours. That's when they say the
You
N
get
word at
2
the
hours
end and you
in
win.
You realize
I
it's the
think
most racist open world game ever
I think
made.
the developers probably speedrun that game when they were making it.
What?
So
Duck Dynasty?
Duck Dynasty.
Yeah.
Those nasty ducks, big bad boys in the reeds.
Quack 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 quack.
Daniel Conley says at McBiggity,
I swear to God, if it's another fucking question about Duck Dynasty.
what has been the most difficult part of making Beyond your podcast and making it original since Growlin left?
All of the by the way, somebody wrote in the other day and they were like, ever since the Grexit. I'm like, God damn it.
I love that joke had to ferment for like 18 months, but it's so timely.
It's
and
so good.
perfect.
No, taking over was hard. It was one of those things that was like, almost like, do we want to do this? Do we want to fill these shoes? Like, can you take the name with you? Can we just start something new? Yeah, so it's been, trying to build something unique unto ourselves that also preserves, the core tenets that you guys had. But at the same time, it's going to be like, none of us grew up in PlayStation or on channels. Like I came from 1UP where I was primarily doing features about everything, and then I moved over to IGN and I'm just an all-purpose editor.
Yeah.
And we brought Max on, after you guys.
It's been-
Andrew was the news guy. You've been a features guy forever, and so it was one of those. Yes, we don't have the 7 years of entrenched, solid covers. Like we're never gonna have an encyclopedic knowledge like you guys have. Like absolutely. Like and I don't even want to touch that.
Well, I think we also kind of like when we took over, it was around the same time where IGN was also kind of moving into more of a like let's swing for the fences type of business model, where we weren't really. We didn't really have the option of being like, well, there's very few things in the PlayStation Store this week, so let's talk about it. We had to be like, well, let's fill this with, an hour of stuff that's like sort of more AAA. But also on the flip side,
There have been some changes to the Remember Me Collector's Edition. We should probably go over those now.
Well, so when like we were talking about it before, when these guys were covering that beat, like sometimes that was it. And a lot of people are giving Trevor Noah shit right now on the Daily Show because he's talking about politics while, Obama's president. And like that's pretty easy to do. Like you can make fun of the election coming up and stuff like that, but like we inherited Beyond with the PlayStation 4 was the best-selling console. Like that's a pretty easy thing to walk into. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to focus so much on the like kind of little indie sales and minis and stuff like that. You can actually say, hey, like this thing's doing really well. Let's talk about Far Cry Primal. Let's talk about Bloodborne. Let's talk about all the big games coming right now.
Yeah.
So that made it easier. But also the Facebook group was something that we like slowly had to inherit and win over, and like it wasn't really a thing that anyone really relied on for a long time. And we just started talking to them, being like, well, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? How can we change this? And there's awesome moderators over there helping us out, and awesome just passionate people in the group. And like little by little, I think people were like, I like what these guys are doing. It's not meant to replace the originals. They are not dressing and acting and talking like the original guys. They're not doing their bits and stuff like that. They're doing something different and new. And
Yeah, at the beginning we were like, do we do the bits? And that was when like the News Ghost thing came. Like we did the Roper Report thing, and I was like, I'll make this noise. I've literally never met Chris Roper in my life. The only interaction I've had with him was I sent an email and he sent a video clip for your last episode.
I'm glad. I'm kind of glad you guys didn't, and especially because when you guys kind of did with PS I Love You, it resonated so much.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
The first time I listened to one of those episodes, I'm like, oh yeah, like this is like straight up classic Beyond, and like kind of to Max's point earlier, it's kind of nice having one or the other. Like, it's nice that you can listen to Beyond as it is today, but then you can also go back and listen to PS I Love You and have it be kind of what it was.
If we were doing Roper Report and they were doing Roper's Report within a 24-hour span of each other, it would just be super weird for
Well,
all
yeah,
of
and
us.
I mean, that was one of the
for
reasons.
Roper. He's not involved in anything.
I mean,
Please stop saying my
I,
name.
of course, want to go out and thank Per Schneider for not suing us for that.
Yeah.
Because Nick Scarpino was super upset when we posted the first episode and we were having a laugh about it. He's like, what's so funny? We're just ripping off all our old segments. And he's like, what do you mean? And you're like, well, we just changed one letter. He's like, are you fucking kidding me?
I remember
This is what you did?
when you guys announced that you were going to do your version of the show, or PS I Love You, I was like, I tweeted at you and I'm like, here's some ideas. And I'm like, oh, Ricky's wrap up, the Roger Report. And you're like, you're crazy if you think we're changing them that much.
Yeah, I think when we did PS, we knew we were going to do PS I Love You for a long time, and I think it took a long time for us to, like, first of all, name it, which is
Also,
Nick
goddamn,
Scarpino.
that's a good name.
That name.
It's such a good name.
Yeah, Nick Scarpino is the one who came up with that name, and we just, I mean, we knew we wanted to do it because, as people know, like, we didn't even know what was going to happen with Beyond at the end. I mean, we did Beyond for a while after we left or whatever, and I think PS I Love You is just the only show we know how to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like the only show. Like, so it is very natural. There's a order and case. There's a lot of new shit into it. I think it's longer than Beyond and all that kind of stuff. So it is a new kind of show, but it was just a natural, like, it was our show. Like, that was the way we did our show. And so, like, our show wasn't necessarily just Podcast Beyond. It was just our show. And then we just took it and did. But yeah, I mean, it is an aped version in many ways of the Podcast Beyond we did. But I think that works because you guys don't do that version of Podcast
And that was
Beyond.
why we did it. If you guys still did all the segments, we wouldn't have been like, fuck them.
No, we wouldn't have been
Yeah.
so. we wouldn't have
Roper's
been so-
Report, come at me.
We wouldn't have been so flagrant. We just wanted to. I think a lot of the reason was, like, not so much a market imperative to do the show, not so much anything. It's like, I think we just missed it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think that was like one of the reasons is that, like, we do the Games Cast, that's fun. We do Game Over Greggy, that's fun. We've been doing that for a long time, long before we left IGN. We do Colin and Greggy Live, that's fun. But I honestly think, like, our strongest show is PS I Love You, and, like, that's just the show that we, like I said, we just know how to do it. So
Yeah. I mean, I think I'd speak for all of us. The hour we get into a room and get to talk with each other is a highlight of a week.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
honestly.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I
100%.
know it's the exact same for you guys.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with, like, you know, Nick and Tim know games in their own way and speak to games in their own way, but, like, Greg and I are just on the same level, playing the same games on the same platform, and so there's just something about that where it's just like we don't have to shoehorn the Nintendo news here. We don't have to shoehorn the two Xbox games a year we play, because, like, that's the thing is, like, we just don't. That's the other thing too is, and I've said it when we were at IGN, but I say it more unabashedly now than ever, is I'm a PlayStation gamer. I'm not ashamed of this at all. So, like, doesn't mean I'm a fanboy. Doesn't mean I don't try things on other platforms.
Yeah, it makes it is a weird, it's like that stupid phrase, comfort food. Like, listening to PS I Love You every week does feel, like, so familiar, and it just feels kind of right.
Some ladies trying to break into the back. What do we do?
What do we do?
Caitlin, there's strange women trying to break into the bar.
Zach's he keeps giving up the wrap up, but I just want to read one final question.
Okay.
It comes from Kevin Abdul. It says, "Dear Greg, after watching the Sony press conference and having a good idea for to look forward to." Thanks, Kevin. Thank you.
I disagree. I think it's been a long time for that and to also when.
Can I, oh, I'm sorry, Max. You want to?
I was just going to say, if you answer too many tweets from people named Kevin, it just all falls apart. they start breaking down. It's like clones. Just
Before we go, because I know we have to wrap up. I want to say something before we go, and I'm sure you're going to say something.
Everyone can say something. Yeah, he's probably gonna cry.
Want to thank you guys for having me back or whatever.
Of course.
I don't often, do guest appearances anymore because I just want to be the J.D. Salinger of podcasting.
I love that.
So this show means a great deal to me. It always will. I'm rooting for you guys from the sidelines. I would not be anywhere near, like, we've reached, like, success beyond I ever would have imagined with Kind of Funny, and a lot of that has to do with our Beyond core fan base that, like, followed us over and are still here as well. So I know what the show did for me, and I know what it meant for me, and I would not be where I am today without Podcast Beyond, IGN of course too, but Podcast Beyond specifically, people come and go at IGN you never heard of. People are there for years sometimes you never heard of. Podcast Beyond was the reason that I became, like, at the time I was there, really one of the best known editors at the site, and I know that. So I thank everyone. I thank you guys for continuing the legacy. I'm pulling for you from the sidelines for the show and for IGN's success, whatever, as the internet changes radically, and I think we're all trying to figure it out as we go. And I want to thank everyone out there that even didn't jump with us, because it's good to be back. Who knows when we'll ever be back? So, so thank you. Appreciate you.
There's always a seat
Thank
open
you,
for
Colin.
Yeah, seriously, there's always a seat open for you too.
As I always used to say, you're a sweet boy.
No, on my end, yeah. I mean, I echo everything Colin said. Of course, thank you guys. But more than anything, I mean, I've thanked you guys 381 episodes. Don't worry about
Yeah.
that. You guys, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud that it's still going. You know what I mean? I know it was a rough road to hoe. I know you had a whole bunch of things going on.
Road to hoe?
Isn't that what they call it? Right?
That was my
you
favorite
hoe a
iOS
road.
game.
Because you're hoeing.
If you're hoeing a road, you're just messing up the road. It's really bad
tough
for
road.
you.
I'm pretty sure. Somebody Google that.
Right, he's trying to be a sweet boy.
Google that. Tough road to hoe.
Road to pave,
Google that, please,
maybe?
very much.
Is it pave?
Row to hoe. That I fucked it up. You're right.
What?
Yeah. Because row, when you're in a
row.
garden
Yeah, that makes sense,
and you're
'cause you put
hoeing the
corn in there
garden.
and
So it's a tough row to hoe.
It's a
Not
row of
road.
things that you hoe.
Yeah, if you're hoeing
Basically,
the road,
people
you're
were
just,
jackasses to you for a long time. I'm proud you kept going.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm proud of the
Thank
show
you.
you guys
Yeah.
have now. I'm proud of the fan
Yeah.
base you have. What do you got for me? What do you got? Nothing?
It's a tough road to hoe.
I was right.
Road to hoe? That's
Hashtag
so
Greg
bad
was
for
right.
roads. It's
Hashtag
awful.
love
That
wins.
was
Love
But no, I'm
it.
so proud of you guys. Congratulations.
No, thank you so much. Honestly, it means the world to us. Being able to take it over from the two of you and sort of make it our own thing and coexist alongside you guys has been probably the highlight of my career. Yeah, you're a sweet boy. Both of you are sweet boys. As Altana used to say.
I did that today in Colin Greg Live. What's that?
What?
Oh, I did that because I do that.
I did it first. I did it first.
What? Like a weird bow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Seriously, thank you guys for covering this like weird, obtuse, sometimes gigantic, immaculate beat, and also for letting us on when you did, to taking a risk and calling me on the show. Like back in the day when I was just scrappy, slightly fatter, slightly more alcoholic dude, and you were like,
way fatter.
Thanks
You're
a
not giving
lot.
yourself any credit for the amount of weight you lost.
And for just being true to yourselves and for doing a cool show, because that's, I think, the biggest takeaway that we took when we said we're not going to do the Roper Report, we're not going to do this. We named all these things we're not going to do, but I think what we all realized without even talking about it, that what we were going to do was have good chemistry with each other, be passionate about video games, and talk about the stuff that we really care about.
And make Goldfarb take his shirt off.
Constantly.
Show off those rusty little torso geodes.
Abs.
Yeah.
But this is like the
talk about
director for a dream. Abs.
Two abs. What? No one else is there.
We're fine.
Michael Bay's Requiem for a Dream.
But no, I miss you guys, and it's fucking awesome to have you guys back. To have us all in the same room right now is really
Thank you for having
cool.
us.
Yeah.
And
Also-
the fact that we did this before we're all old, like they always do that on the shows, or like just 7 dudes looking like ZZ Top sitting around a circle, like, back in the day we were.
Also, I like
we didn't have to do any of that.
I
We
think
got it done
can-
now.
Also, I think we can finally bury the like once a week tweet I get of like, do you guys hate each other now?
Yes.
More than ever.
Yes, you
sorry,
heard it
Andy.
here first.
I will say like that was what I was saying earlier is like because we just tried to remain silent. Like I thought that was the best approach when you guys took over Beyond, is to just don't feed them. And then when we launched PS I Love You, just don't say anything.
Yeah.
And slowly people get bored and go complain about other shit. It's the internet. Like, look, remember when everyone was really mad that dentist killed that lion or something like that?
I totally forgot about
You remember that?
And then
Yeah,
what
that was
happened?
like a big deal for like
then
2
they
days.
killed the gorilla, and everyone stopped talking about the lion.
And then a gorilla killed a baby or something like that. That's
Yeah.
what everyone's mad about.
No,
So-
didn't a crocodile eat a man? That happened like a week or two ago.
I do like the internet because we're getting animal-related tragedies now. It's not just horrible, heartbreaking ones.
I
They're
just
still
want to.
heartbreaking, but
I want to thank both of you because it's weird for me being a weird bridge because like I didn't start this. Like you guys started this new era, and I certainly didn't start your era.
Oh, you
'cause
were
I
the
kinda came
actual
in
bridge
last.
between.
as long as there's
The
water
ocean
under you and
weirdly.
lots of ducks
Then
underneath
I will
the water,
cross,
then I don't
exactly.
give a shit.
No, I mean, but thank
You're
you.
the missing
'cause
link.
I think you guys again like kind of helped me grow into anything remotely resembling whatever the hell I am today. And like I don't know, it's been a weird. I started, I guess it was 2011, and so it's weird now. What 5 years later? Like I feel like I've grown, and I feel like I have you guys to thank for it, and then separately I have you guys to thank for it. So it's been a weird 2 eras of my life with kind of a brief stint in Texas in between. But yeah,
It's like My 5 Dads.
yeah. And we're here today to announce our new show, My 5 Dads.
Where we try to give Andrew life advice and it doesn't go well.
No, he just doesn't listen.
Oh yeah.
We've all given the right life advice. He just
just
always
take
goes,
your
you
shirt
know what?
off on
I'm going the
camera
other
more."
direction.
Stop it. I don't know. This is all makes me very uncomfortable.
it was Goldfarb, abs.
I'm shortening it. I'm giving them options.
There was a beautiful symmetry to it, Greg.
Garfabs.
Garfabs.
Abs is only a 3-pack.
No, each abs is 2 abs, so it's a 6.
Oh.
Plural.
It could be just pregnant, which is what I look like.
No, thank you so
Thank
much.
you guys so much.
I
for
need a
being so
hypothetical
guys,
abortion
please.
on my food, baby.
All right, so I guess we haven't seen them in a while because we're off of them.
That's the only way this episode could possibly end. But no, seriously.
It's been a legitimate pleasure having you guys on here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I like that we're doing this in a bar.
Yeah,
we got a round of applause
Yeah.
this morning because during the morning meeting I was like, we're recording beyond at a bar, so Marty's master plan has finally come into play.
Did it, guys. 5 years in the making.
Unifying his two worlds.
Thank you so much to Zach behind the camera, obviously.
Come out here and show us your beautiful thumbs. You
Show us
dirty
your
man.
abs. Zach.
Don't do it. He's got awful tattoos on there.
That was too much. I didn't like that.
Caitlin,
really
thank you
weird.
so much. You were incredible. Thanks for
Thank
putting up with
you.
us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Caitlin. Yeah, we're doing this from Jackalope. This is one of our local haunts in San Francisco.
Is
So
Jackalope on Twitter? Is it just Jackalope SF?
it's Jackalope and then the address. What's the number? 1092. At Jackalope 1092 or not? I don't know.
You could follow that account and see what happens.
Yeah.
It could be some weird man in Montana who wants to share pictures
Yeah,
of his taxidermy.
Jackalope.
Who knows?
It's the compound next to mine.
Yes.
There you go. You can find us all on Twitter, obviously. Brian is Agent Bizzle. I'm Max Scoville. Colin, this is just
No taxation.
no taxation. You're Game
Game
Over
Over
Greggy. Garfep, McBiggity, 2 G's, 2 T's. Zach is Zacharias D, the worst
Rolls off the
Star
tongue.
Fox boss ever.
Caitlin is at Barack Obama.
Oh yeah.
She's been squatting on that one for the last
At
8
POTUS.
years. Yeah, at POTUS.
Yeah, and then hop on that Facebook group and say hi, and thank you for listening, and thank you for tolerating our drunk asses in a bar on these weird stools. It's like the weirdest way anyone's ever sat in a bar ever.
Yeah, it's not
Like
normal,
this is how
but-
geese fly
very
north
normal.
for the winter or south for the summer.
What if we
whatever
just
they do.
started coming to the bar normally and sitting like this?
Just in the middle.
Can I get to the bathroom?
No.
Hi, you're
Go
tuning into
away.
the #1 fire hazard podcast right here in a bar that's going to get shut down real soon because we're blocking the door. All right. On
that note,
how do we end
what's
this?
that word?
What's that word?
Beyond.
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 Yeah.